Well, I don't know. This is such a disappointment. I know, I know. None of you should have been here in the first place. Oh, that's sad. Well, still sluggish. Duh. Deal. Slow.
Well, this is live. Today's topic, would you believe is more bad news about AI? As we all should know by now, AI is trained by stealing content without permission most of the time, with AI companies defending the right to do that, saying that it constitutes fair use under copyright law. Meaning AI models do not harm the market creators' work. Yeah, not right now, but give it 5 or 10 years. Well, anyway, the Atlantic did an investigation and found 4 datasets filled with millions of stolen songs and videos that were available to AI developers. They then made a page that gave everybody the ability to explore the datasets and to see how much stuff had been stolen. So, for example, I typed in Mr. Beast, and you can see that 1,434 of his videos were trained on by AI. Sadly, or actually I should say thankfully, Slop Live has not been trained on at all. But they actually got me with 2 songs that I made 10 years ago and 137 videos from my old meme channel. Man, some of these details are really a blast from the past. Pulling out Grande, how Durr got suspended, James Charles the movie, PewDiePie diss track. Yeah, I'm sure the AI really needed to train itself on those videos. Popular musicians and producers have spoken out about this since it was made easily accessible. Kenny Beats saying, hey, at Suno, which is one of the AI music generators. You are true losers. Whoever's running this account and your boss and their boss's boss. I can't imagine going to work daily knowing you're stealing from countless struggling musicians. I can't imagine being proud to earn a paycheck obliterating the work and dreams of artists. Yet fucked every single one of you. SZA also posting to Instagram saying, just checked, and Music AI has trained off 238 of my songs. I'm certain some unreleased. If you're a musician and you support this degenerate shit, you're disgusting, and there's nothing you could ever say to me to make this okay. I hope you have the lives earned. And this one from a small musician saying, all of my music has been stolen by AI company. Well, we've known this. The CEO of Suno literally bragged about it in an interview last year. They were sued by the labels got paid, but the AI model trained on stolen art still exists today. Laws need to change. And this is a good point. The labels did get paid, but where's my payment, man? I want payment for all 137 shitpost videos the AI was trained on. Thanks. I'll take $1 million per video at the minimum. But yeah, if you search it yourself, I think you'll be surprised at just how many creators have had their content stolen. And you already know it's only going to get a whole lot worse. Thanks to Slop and Art.
The idea and concept of intellectual property and its consequences. Anyway, whatever. Not much to say about it. There's not much else to say about it.
How many LTT magnetic cable management arches does it take to hold up this PC? 1 cable arch? Oh, 2 cable arches? 3 cable arches? No! Surely 4 cable arches will be different. Time to bring out the big guns. Well, we were closer. 2 XL cable arches. Keep an eye out for line day deals on cable management arches.
No, there was nothing here. I was not paying attention to what I was clicking. Anyway.
There's a big problem with the low IQ, which is that kids who have conduct disorder who are smart are less likely to do stupid things and get caught. There's a lot of research that shows that antisocial personality disorder is really common in people in jail. But the problem is that people who are sociopaths in jail are the ones that are stupid enough to get caught. That's why there's an association with low IQ and antisocial personality disorder. There are a lot of people who are sociopaths who are just clever enough to not get caught. They won't be in jail. And if they're not in jail, they won't have low IQ.
There was nothing here either. What the fuck? So, whatever, everybody know. Nothing. I feel there's nothing here either. It's just more advertisement.
Eu tenho visto um monte de gente do audiovisual reclamando do mercado, falando que faltam clientes. Sabe o que eu percebo? De um lado, tem um monte de cliente com um orçamento disponível procurando por profissionais que não conseguem encontrar. Do outro lado, tem um monte de cliente possui marca pessoal, possui marca produtor. Não dá, é muito difícil ser encontrado. Pior, no terreno, que nem aquele. Sempre tem pessoas que eu vejo são os portfólios. Eu vejo não tem um lugar pode simplesmente subir uma conta do algoritmo, pode usar muito tipo de é
Make a website. English, there was nothing here. There was nothing there. I know. Ow.
Everywhere in cities, they give the city employees the ability to tell where you are at any point in time. Lots of information is accessible without a warrant by it, so you have really no way of getting around this if you use public infrastructure, use public roads to get around. And one of the things I've said about this is that it's going to continuously get worse if you allow this to continue, and it looks like it has. Welcome to LSAG Signal Trace Intelligence. So the way this works is your devices in your car, those stuff that you carry around with you every single day, have data and have little things that they give out about them. I'll just give you a very, very basic, oversimplified example. Cybersecurity people, please don't like put too much stress to it. I'm trying to get the idea across. Let's say you have a phone. Let's say telephone connects to Wi-Fi. Now, if I go away from my Wi-Fi network, let's say it's always looking for the Wi-Fi network of my house. So now I have a device that's always going, where's Lewis Wi-Fi? Where's Lewis Wi-Fi? Lewis Wi-Fi here? Somebody else can pick up that there's a device nearby that is looking for that particular Wi-Fi, and they may be able to pick up certain things that are emitted from my device if I forget to turn certain things off, and they can use that to fingerprint you and figure out, oh well, the only person who ever passes by here who's looking for this Wi-Fi is Lewis. So even if his car's license plate is changed, or even if he's in a different car, that's probably Lewis' phone, and they can use this type of information to figure out who you are and where you're going. And that's what this company does. Identify suspects with the electronic devices they carry. Signal Trace is an advanced signal intelligence system that enhances traditional automated license plate reading capabilities by detecting and correlating nearby electronic devices with vehicles and bridges license plate recognition data with sensor captured device identifiers, such as those from mobile phones, Bluetooth wearables, and vehicle systems, to create a unique trackable electronic fingerprint for investigative use. Where multiple devices constantly move together within a vehicle, Signal Trace's algorithms link into that vehicle's license plate and timestamp location data. This correlation provides investigators with another layer of actual intelligence. Even if a suspect changes or removes a plate, they have a patent for systems and methods for electronic signature tracking. Signal Trace correlates license plates to a variety of identifiable device types, including mobile phones, tire pressure sensors, vehicle hotspots, wearables, watches, fitness trackers, security and safety sensors, tablets and smartphones, wireless headphones, infotainment systems, laptops, and you can name some of your Bluetooth devices. You can name, oh my god, this is making such a good argument. We're using wired headphones. Wired headphones. LSAG EOC plus captures device frequencies into the air does not decrypt or capture the contents of the devices or their communications. Oh, it doesn't capture my communications. It's just used in tandem with other pieces of hardware that are put up to violate the Fourth Amendment by allowing the police and city employees to figure out where I am every single second of the day. And it's combined with the AI system setting to take my license plate off the knows me, and not very far off from being able to use the profile because I don't know where the people that voted for Ron Paul in 2008 2012 congregate on a Wednesday night at 9 p.m. At what point are people just going to show up at the city council and town halls and say fuck this shit, get this stuff fuck out of my city, or we're going to start cutting out ourselves? I've seen pushback against this, but I've not seen the amount to the level that I would like. And I have this fear that this type of stuff is not going to get pushed back against in a serious, concentrated way until it's too late. In Colorado, I read the video on how a gentleman gets pulled over every single time he passes one of these cameras because they have the wrong arrest record. So apparently, I forget it was something like a lowercase or versus an uppercase, like a 0 versus an O or some shit like that. But because of that error, he gets pulled over by the police regularly. And the most fucked up part is they won't even tell him who they think he is. They will say, okay, I'm sorry, so this is an error, this warrant is not for you. But you never know. Are you chasing somebody because they stole a Snickers bar from a 7-Eleven, or are you chasing somebody that you think is Richard Klinsky the Iceman? Because if you think that you're chasing Richard Klinsky the Iceman, then you think that this warrant is out for somebody who has 2 or 300 murders. You might treat that person differently. And if I knew that my car was a car that you think belongs to a mob serial killer, that's dangerous because the police are going to react differently based on what they think you did. And they won't even tell this man what they think he did. This man, who the police admit is not accused of a crime, is not guilty of a crime, is not suspected of a crime, is pulled over regularly because the stupid fucking claimer in the database thinks that he is somebody he is not. This man says that he used the system to stalk his ex because he was sleep deprived. Why is this shit still here? They're actually going to try and bring this shit back to Austin, Texas very soon. They're going to do everything they can to try and install these cameras, even though they were taken out earlier. I hope everybody shows up against this. You do not have to be anti-police to think this is fucking weird. I've never come out in this channel and said that I am universally against the police. I do not have an ACAB sticker on my car or anything like that. That's not me. But this is fucking weird. This is about so much more than Democrat versus Republican or back to the bumper sticker. And this is something different altogether. And it's fucking weird. It's fucking creepy. It's not something that I think you should be paying for with your tax dollars. Let me know in the comments down below. What would you think if your city or your police department now is going to start using this technology? Trying to fingerprint everybody who goes by all the time based on the wireless signals that your devices emit. I don't want to just have devices that don't emit anything wirelessly. I want to have devices that just emit random bullshit wirelessly. Sometimes I think we're at a point where there's no turning back on any of this stuff. And the best thing to do is not to try and minimize the data that gets collected, but maximize the amount of junk data that we emit just to confuse and fuck up the system and make it useless. So let me know what you think in the comments down below. That's for today. As always, I hope you learned something. Also, another last minute notice. On this Tuesday, on the 23rd, I'm going to be in California to attend this hearing. This is a hearing at 9:30 a.m. room 2100, and I don't know if that's 1021 O Street or 1021 0 Street. I guess I'd be just like the sheriff in Colorado that got the wrong guy in the fucking. But all seriously, I'm going to be here on June 23rd in the morning, and we're going to be talking about this anti-3D printer bill, where they're going to try to put blocking technology in all 3D printers to stop them from printing firearm parts. This bill is going to try and make printing certain shapes illegal. They're going to try to imply intent to a shape. This bill would destroy the idea of being able to have an open source 3D printer. Because if you mandate blocking technology being installed inside a 3D printer, then you can't have a 3D printer that's based on open source software anymore. And if 3D printer is no longer based on open source software, it would allow the manufacturer to do things like say, oh, we released a new update. You want to be able to print more than 3 things a day, you have to pay a subscription because you wouldn't be able to leak the code that is just like print. I have written several wiki articles that may be useful for you to bring by. We have a bunch of evidence that many people from the 3D printing community have contributed. Something like this, the Evo Glock switch, fully automatic conversion device, easily detected by algorithm, the same device with an added superfluous geometry, which uses to remove falling printing, making detection by an algorithm basically impossible. We've gone over how this Glock pistol that's fit with this specific rear backplate looks very similar to a hot shoe mount for a camera, silencer for a gun, looks just like a flashlight, cordless drill grip, looks like a gun handle. This law is so stupid in so many ways. The best way to ensure that this type of crap does not spread to the entire country is to get as many people to show up as possible. Remember that Bloomberg is behind this. Bloomberg is funding this. He has given $50 to over $50 million to the group that is pushing this garbage all over the country, and don't let him win. Even if you don't care about 3D printing, do it for the sake of freedom. How many of you are pissed off that Bloomberg got the Gamers Next NVIDIA documentary pulled? If you're still mad at that, show up in Sacramento on Tuesday morning. I'll be there. I'll be filming. I'd like to talk to some of the people that are showing up, and I would like to get as many people as possible to make their voice heard. I need you to show up. I need you to show up well dressed, well groomed, well spoken, be professional, be courteous, be polite, be info. Don't assume that you have to be an expert in order to push this stuff through, because again, the people that are pushing this through are so fucking ignorant that they actually believe that banning shapes is a thing. Trust me, they're not a fucking expert. And whatever experience you believe you're missing that would not make you qualified to show up at an event like this, you are more qualified than people showing up in favor of this bill. I guarantee you that. That's it for today, and as always, I hope you learned something. I'll see you in the next video, and I look forward to seeing you on Tuesday. Bye now.
Right.
I'm currently standing on the busiest road in one of the most congested cities on the planet. 6 days a week. This road is incredibly loud and packed with cars trying to get around the city. In fact, there are around 10 million cars in this giant megalith one any given day. On Sunday, however, one of the busiest roads in all of America. Suddenly, there's twice. One of the cars don't go. They make you now. The largest fight has already happened. But initially, started out, they waited to prices, vehicles, vehicles, ended up being a strange problem. We make posters here. How does the my name is Edgar, and today I'm going to be cycling on my bike, taking you with me to check levels to find out if this car today is really all tracked out to be. So first question here is, what is this motivating DC? Metro Cities leading our own streets and don't motivate DC right to move by bike. As you see, it's clearly not just bikes. You've got runners, people walking their dogs, people walking with their children. You've got all the players standing outside enjoying the beautiful day. In 1980s, pollution in Mexico City was at its peak. Supposedly it was so bad that birds would fall out of the sky, dropping dead because of the air quality. In 1992, the United Nations officially declared Mexico City the most polluted city on Earth. So government started doing about it. They built train lines, increased buses, and enacted a lot stricter emission standards, but it is more needs to be done still. And that's what Mexico City did what all great cities do. They looked to other countries to see what was successful for them. Which countries? Well, Colombia and Bogota, where I am right now. In 1974, Bogota was experiencing a similar problem. Despite the fact that most of the city did not only car, traffic continued increasing, and the city was putting out its own tram lines. But January Marino, the architect who just came back from studying architecture in Cleveland, Ohio, he had an idea. See, the city along sprawling place in America, specifically Ohio, and also experienced a lot of the countercultural protests about Vietnam War time. So when he came back to Bogota, he gathered a few of his friends, worked with his connections to City Hall, and together they managed to block 18 blocks of downtown Bogota to all car traffic so people could freely cycle around. 5,000 people showed up on that day, which is a huge feat. But then a year later, they did the same thing. They did it again, and it was a wild success. So much so that after only 2 demonstrations, the city decided to make it official. And they called it La Ciclovia. In 2000, around 2 million people showed up every single Sunday for La Ciclovia, and Mexico City saw the success of the program in 2007 decided to launch their own version. With DC officially started in Mexico City on May 13, 2007, and they started there. Marcelo Ebrard, chief work and staff started work on Monday, Tuesday, when he could job duties. When I was on the Maryland, then Boris Johnson was also always seen starting to work with Westminster, which does help our change. The average person seeing a person in power doing activity usually inspires them to go out. They got that. So bad.
bici realmente, en mi opinión, lo que yo siento es más la manera de vivir de la gente, que te muevas en bici a tu trabajo. El recorrido de los es muy bonito, miles de personas se unen a él, pero es un solo día. Y miles de personas que solamente practican el ciclismo ese día a la semana. Mientras que muerte bici creo que es un poco más que eso, es muchas personas yendo a su trabajo, yendo a sus escuelas, moviéndose en bicicleta. Hay un pequeño kinder que tiene esta teoría de que los niños están moviendo en bicicleta y todos los padres llevan a sus hijos a ese kinder en bicicleta y a la entonces ese tipo de cosas es algo nuevo en la ciudad. Soy Bernardo Aragón. I'm managing a bicycle train in Mexico City. We go from taquería a taquería, showing the culture of tacos in Mexico. Tener un guía que te muestre la ciudad es lo mejor que puedes tener, que te muestre la cultura y todo. Es mucho más interesante por un lado. En mi experiencia, cada lugar que he ido, siempre intento conseguir una bicicleta para recorrer la ciudad. Es la mejor experiencia para conocer cada lugar donde he ido. Subir una bicicleta, recorrer las calles, conocer mejor a la gente.
Well, here in Mexico, it's like there's a lane, you can use no matter if it's scooters, bikes, electric bikes, cars, you can use it. Every time they make those stuff, they go the street with gold, see, with second. We're very involved in because it's the way that you can distress the streets. Yes, it's some if you are city for 20 minutes, at 80, we move forward, you see that race. When I was in New York or Indiana, I drove in a city bikes. But for me, like, if I go on the subway, I can miss lots of things. Yeah. Or it's the subway, so I cannot watch all day. Yeah, they never do stuff. And when we watch Manhattan, it's next level. I can cycle all day.
Definitivamente las ciclovías tienen que llegar a más puntos en la ciudad. A punto que llega la ciclovía, se genera una conciencia, las personas empiezan a utilizarla y entonces una vez que están en el coche, una vez que un familiar suyo anda en bicicleta, se genera una conciencia y hay más respeto hacia el ciclismo. Entonces mayor ciclovías, más cultura del ciclismo existe. Ahorita tenemos eso.
¿Cómo ha cambiado el evento desde 2007 hasta hoy, de muerte en bici, en tu experiencia?
La gente es un poco más consciente acerca de los ciclistas, ha cambiado un poco la idea de que ser ciclista no significa ser pobre, sino significa moverse de manera distinta a lo que la gente está acostumbrada. Antes requeríamos un automóvil para hacer todo y ahora la gente se está dando cuenta que no es necesario tener un automóvil para poder moverse y vivir. El hecho de tener domingos, no cierran todas las calles, sino solamente algunas calles. Algunas de ellas son muy importantes en la Ciudad de México, otras no las cierran completamente, las cierran parcialmente, la mitad para automóviles, la mitad para las bicicletas. Creo que eso ha cambiado un poco la manera de ver de los automovilistas y los ciclistas que podemos combinar ambas cosas y la ciudad sigue funcionando. Por un lado, la gente pierde el miedo de utilizar la bicicleta en la ciudad y por otro lado se dan cuenta que pueden recorrer esas distancias en bicicleta sin ningún problema.
En el futuro te gustaría ver más partes de la ciudad abriendo para el evento, así que más gente pudiera participar.
Por supuesto que es un beneficio no solamente para los que viven en la parte del centro de la ciudad, es un beneficio para todos y ya está sucediendo. Ya hay ciclovías que realmente no se conectan con las distancias del centro, pero hay empiezan ciclovías en otros puntos de la ciudad y en el futuro probablemente se conecten todas. Pero puedo decirte que ningún cambio, porque la gente normalmente está en un intercambio, ningún cambio viene pacíficamente o viene de manera tranquila. Generalmente se necesita imponer el cambio para que sea posible. Cuando empezó todo esto, me acuerdo que empezó también los recorridos nocturnos. Pero eso fue en el gobierno, no empezó esto, empezó por la gente, empezaron los ciclistas a hacer más y más, al grado que el gobierno tuvo que unirse en vez de luchar contra. Entonces esto no es un movimiento o algo que el gobierno haya tenido iniciativa. La iniciativa fue de las personas y el gobierno los apoyó. Todavía no llegamos a algunos lugares, a ese momento en donde, por ejemplo, en Barcelona pasa mucho, o en Japón, donde la gente toma su bicicleta, va al metro, estaciona y va a su bicicleta y recorre la ciudad, o se va donde quiera el metro. Creo que ese sería el siguiente paso. En México todavía no sucede, probablemente tenemos buenos estacionamientos en las estaciones de metro para ir seguro, para dejar tu bicicleta y de ahí poder transportarte en metro a otras zonas. Pero esperemos que algún día llegue, no por ser un país de primer mundo, tiene un mejor ciclismo o una cultura más avanzada que México. Muchas veces es peor en países más desarrollados. Es una ley, no sé si eso también existe en otros países, supongo que sí, pero es una ley que permite el libre tránsito por el territorio mexicano. Eso significa que en cualquier lugar que sea público puedes transitar y nadie puede quitar un derecho que ya está dado en la Constitución. Entonces, eso significa que puedes andar en bicicleta en la calle porque es pública y nadie puede decir que no lo puedes hacer. Ahora hay reglas para poder mantener seguro a todas las personas. Si te interesa venir a la Ciudad de México y conocer un poco más de la ciudad y de la cultura y un poquito más de puedes encontrarnos como Taco Club en todas las redes sociales. Tenemos 8 años haciendo tours, llevamos a la gente en bicicleta de taquería en taquería, conocemos todas las taquerías de la zona y seguramente te va a gustar.
Mucho gusto, gracias por hablar conmigo.
De nada.
This guy's totally right. Just because you work more, especially at like a company where the output is not directly obvious, you can't even say you're doing more. You actually can't even say your productivity's up. You're just making more decisions in a fevered state. And it is true in a sense. If you put more work, and more work will happen. But I think where most startup leverage is really in how differently you approach the problem, how well you cultivate a team, and the strategy. Any large company can outspend you on hours. They have thousands or tens of thousands of more people spending more hours. If hours worked were a metric, every large company and government organization would always win and do the best work. More hours, better output. Go ahead right now. Somebody name something good the government's done in the last 3 weeks. Name one thing the government did that was awesome in the last 6 months. Go ahead. I can think of one.
What's up, guys? Welcome back to news. Heading into this week, there is a lot of anticipation for Grand Theft Auto 6, not only for the price point around it, but potentially new marketing material, which could include a trailer 3. But with all of this happening, it seemed like pricing already leaked out online, but then there was a lot of pushback. It's all over the place. We'll go over exactly what's happening with that here today. Also, we are going to be talking about a couple of unannounced games that have now appeared for the Switch 2. One appearing online, the other one appearing just outright on store shelves. And we have Sony with a new report detailing their approach to PC and, yes, development with AI. So we'll look at all of that and more. Guys, if you enjoy these
I'm not using VPN, but maybe that will work. Oh man, I was just checking the responses on this. It's just either double jittery kills responses, or it's just turbo sarcasm in disguise. Just naming the good stuff the government did in the past 6 months. Yeah, sure. The war. I'm gonna name the war. Can never be tell if they're being serious or not. But yeah. The gayest gamer ever. Oh yeah, Delta Room's gonna come out in... It doesn't feel it's gonna come out in just 2 days. Yeah, it's just weird. I'm not really hyped for it, but whatever. It's probably gonna be decent.
videos, make sure you hit that like button all the time. And if you're new here to the Spawn Wave channel, make sure you subscribe down below. Guys, we're every weekday morning, 8 a.m. Eastern time, going over the world of game news, trying to keep updates. There's no notification morning. There's probably a video here still to check out. We're gonna start today with Valve and them actually having a bit of a tongue-in-cheek update for data miners. As you can see, this is over on Game Followers account saying Valve developers just added a new variable in Dota 2. You can see here it's all one line. Why are you guys reading our variable names? And I mean, like, again, with Valve, they do a lot free in there, they're a private company, but also they have so many employees, they're a couple hundred employees or so, and yeah, they can play around and do fun stuff like this because they know that people are data mining, looking into all the different updates they're doing. Half the time that's how we hear about these updates that are going around for the Steam machines. Like, oh, look, Valve is pairing like SteamOS and for the Steam machines, they're doing all these different API fixes or what have you. In this case, looking into Dota, yeah, we'll just drop a little line there, it's kind of a fun thing. Yes, we are aware, you're looking at all the things we're doing, and we'll kind of make a joke out of it. Also, here's something to keep an eye on, as you know, towards the end of September and then going back to October, is a gauntlet of video game release. A lot of stuff is coming out in that span of like 3 or 4 weeks, right? Well, it seems like at least one retailer believes that games being moved up, and we can see this is over on TMP Games with Onimusha Way of the Sword. They have that mark right now, September 4th. In fact, it even notes basically that this is earlier than usual because they say they'll ship out a case like weeks later that would then coincide with the original September 24th release. So basically being moved like 3 weeks alright, so the beginning of September according to TMP Games. Now I took a look around, I didn't see any other retailer having it listed. They also have it listed like the final week of September. So I don't know if this is just a random thing. What we find is that they forgot to put the 2 in there for the September 24th, it's September 4th. It's very possible, but still something like that as time is recording. So it's been a few days now like that. So like they would go back and fix it. Now with online retailers, retail in general, you may actually get word of a delay through a release date change ahead of time on the back end of the wholesaler, and then you just go ahead and change it in your system, and then it updates on your website or even just in store for pre-orders or something. So it's very possible. And remember, we have seen Capcom move dates around like Pragmata where they did shift the release. So it is possible, but we don't have the official word yet that Onimusha has moved up. So still, at least for now, I would still expect it at the end of September with all those games releasing, but also we're keeping on Capcom to say they are going to move up 3 weeks because it's not necessarily new for them. Also, we got a new Switch 2 version that was announced from Sega. We can see over on Matsu. This is for Shinobi Art Adventure. Also, game by the way, if you have not played it, I fully recommend it. This though, I don't know about this release. Now, it's September 24th again. Final week of September is a shovel of releases. This is unfortunate because I didn't see anything about an upgrade path for people who bought the game already on the Switch 1 because that was a game that was notoriously blurry playing on the Switch 2, and I did some stuff trying to fix that, but it's not a great experience backwards compatibilizing Switch 2.
Because you
Like,
look up nauseous, I'm gonna stick another review.
But with it releasing September 24th, they will have a physical deluxe edition for PS5 and Switch 2. The Switch 2 version is a game keycard fun, okay, and so they'll have
Nauseous on both videos, goddammit.
now, just unfortunately, the handling
Anybody that's obnoxious.
especially if they sell it at first and then months later they come
Anybody
out
that's
with Let's start with GTA 6 and all eyes right now on Rockstar Take-Two, not only from the gamer's perspective, but also from the publisher's perspective, and developers in the industry, because this very well could set like
Maybe
the
you.
bar when it comes to pricing around games. Now they come in with GTA 6 and it's 70. There's a lot of publishers who are really annoyed because okay, this is like the biggest racing game history. They sell it for 70. They go 80. We go 80. On the other side, they go 80. I think many are like, oh, well, great, we can also do that. But either way, people are very, very curious to see what the price is going to be for GTA 6. Will there be different editions of it? And then of course, what other information we get through way of the trailer and the marketing, which they said was going to start in the summer. Here we are really getting into full swing. Well, as all this, of course, the anticipation building, it looked like one retailer decided to just start listing prices for the United States prices because they also listed several different editions. Now we can see this is over on Wishware, who noted from a Portuguese retailer FNAC with RS1, RS2, RS3, RS4, RS5. These being all seem like different SKUs for GTA 6. So it starts at $89.99 now when it converted over say to US dollars. It's $103. So immediately people went, uh-oh, is GTA 6 a $100 game? Well, there's a few things here, right? One, as we've seen time and time again, the currency exchange rate is not 1 to 1 as in, oh, okay, it's 90 in this region, it'll be 103 or whatever in the US, or even again more expensive in other regions, stuff like that. Okay, so in this case, because there are taxes or anything else applied to it at the time of it being listed here on the retail site, this seems to line up as Wishware notes with Mario Kart World for like the same reason. That's the way you can kind of I feel like judge it between regions. Okay, what's the comparable? Mario Kart World being $8 US means that we see GTA 6 as an $8 game. That's actually where I think it's now the other super editions here. I feel like there's something really with a little outlandish. They say there's a base game, there's like a digital box edition, something like that, and then a big collector's edition. So I saw this kind of what's happening here, and it turns out as I think what they're using kind of racing listings, things like that. I can see people over said those users because EA and code you can see US are long to take traditional game prices. So prices are random, and it's not shocking that they're prices or them things. So I think part of the reason why we have Rockstar Take-Two. Even hey, guys, we were why is it probably on retailers and digital forms PlayStation, Xbox, because we were joking, oh, they actually have issues with tracking and storing. Yeah, that's what now that depends on the show, but the price is $5 while the other will be like, I think we'll go okay a little bit, and I don't think it's necessary to do anyway. It feels like they're really local. So I'm probably saying $8 base GTA 6 price, and we're like $200 collectors and all kinds of stuff. So anyway, we finally answer how much GTA 6 costs. Next, also got a couple of announced Switch games that make yours. This will start first one. Here's the everything. And this is for Diablo 4. This is the additional lore trailer game expansion. This is made in Taiwan. They say it happened at the very end of April, but you don't know, it was just made public in the database. It had not confidential, and people want to see it on the so I don't want to be the case. And anyway, it's not even the Taiwan rating board. We'll end the presentation either direct or
explain my Valve index. Not only it's $1,000, people just always scalping it regardless. So
Erling Haaland, the Norwegian soccer player, is an absolute monster. Screenshots of the games involved in demonstrating a ridiculous height difference between him and other players, as he looks like some sort of terrifying and unstoppable force. Or, given his Norwegian background, perhaps he's more of a representation of the stereotypical Viking, hulking out and conquering the proverbial football battlefield. He's so famous that he's become inspiration for cartoons, drawings, and memes in general, demonstrating how easily football can allow a man to become an international sensation. He's even particularly popular in certain countries, featuring incredible Chinese ads because they simply love him so much. He ultimately fits the himbo stereotype, as he looks like a brute but has excellent agility and technical skill, so he's also graceful and endearing. Even Haaland's Snapchat stories become a point of interest, as the man isn't afraid to get silly. As such, he doesn't even need to say a single word, and people would be already assigning their own feelings about the man, as he's so visually striking that he's without a doubt become a living meme. It just goes to show that sometimes standing out and just being yourself by being different is absolutely a good thing. People love Haaland because he's a gentle giant. I've not seen any controversy or mean-spirited arrogance from the man. He seems to love life, love football, and despite his scary appearance, has become a beloved golden retriever type. And at the end of the day, it's football that allows this to happen. The World Cup deserves its own video for becoming a meme, as well as sporting memes, and it's something I've been working on for a good while for you guys, so look forward to that. This is because the World Cup is effectively an exercise in soft cultural power. Each country is likely to encourage its players to be as active as possible in the eyes of the public, because for Haaland to become the face of Norway means it is more positively received in the realm of international relations. It isn't freezing temperatures and stinky fish people think of when they hear Norway. It's Haaland's big goofy face and charming Snapchats all boost tourism and trade. It's genuinely incredible how the reputation of a country can change so quickly thanks to the celebrities that form within it, especially when those celebrities inspire memes. Essentially, Haaland has become a living meme for his activities on and off the football field. However, it is these memes will ultimately improve the reputation of his home country thanks to the soft power generated by the World Cup. What meme do you guys like me to give a lesson in next? Let me know in the comments below.
And remember, like and subscribe. Or else.
Hey everybody, how's it going? Hope you had a lovely day. Welcome to today's episode. I never thought I was going to make a video refuting my own article on myself in the Swiss News. This just made me laugh. So for some of you who watch my channel, you may know that I did a video while I was in Switzerland a few months ago talking about a kiosk over here that was supposed to be displaying train times or something like that, and instead of displaying that, it was displaying a Windows error. And this is something that I found funny. You'll notice that this is something I've done over the years, and it doesn't matter what country I'm in. If I'm in an airport or if I'm in some place where I'm not expecting to see a Windows error, and I see a Windows error, I'll usually record it with a funny title. I don't know if this is Windows 7 or Windows XP. It just looks like some really old ass Windows. That's blue screening. I said TSA versus Windows XP. Windows XP wins. Now to be clear, this is obviously a joke. The TSA is not fighting Windows XP. Windows XP did not get into a boxing ring. It is a funny title for a funny throwaway video. When I said Swiss mass transit destroyed by Windows 7, SPD will never recover from this. No, I am not implying that an entire fucking country will be destroyed by a single Windows 7 computer crashing. It is a joke. But the news has decided to take this seriously, and because the news has decided to take this seriously, as will I. Let's get started. So this is an article from Watson.ch. American YouTuber mocks SPD for ancient Windows software and misses the mark. Oh really? While visiting Switzerland, the American YouTuber passed a malfunctioning SPD type display at Zurich's main train station and felt the urge to film it. He quickly made a video on YouTube uses sensationalist titles. Swiss mass transit destroyed. SPD will never recover from this. Of course, it's not meant to be taken seriously. It's not going to stop them doing it though. But the short film, shot with a female companion, has been a hit with the audience, especially the Swiss fans. It has already been viewed over 330,000 times.
Can we just
People love comments.
forbid autistic people from working in the press, any type of press, no matter how amateurish type of website, type of press it is? God damn it.
Investigated. Who is this? Who is Ross Misery activist right to repair? Now 37-year-old American was very active on YouTube, blah blah blah. A great Windows error message displayed on a defective SPD information screen in Zurich's main station instead of the expected train departures. Crash to memory error. A program crash exposed to classic Windows desktop. Rossman jokingly complains that he can't recycle because he doesn't have the touchscreen. Criticism of SPD. Rossman and his female companion make fun of the fact that SPD uses a supposedly outdated Windows operating system instead of a more efficient system for a train display. Okay, that is not a supposedly outdated Windows operating system. Do not gaslight me, asshole. That is Windows 7, which is no longer supported. And if you want to use Windows 7 on your home computer, you do you. If you want to use Windows 7 at a train station, again, you do you. But don't tell me that I'm security concerns. The YouTuber jokingly points out potential dangers, as the system is probably outdated and no longer receives regular updates. What's behind it? Rossman has exaggerated in the manner. In fact, the video's premise is technical ignorance coupled with a clickbait title. And here's where we start having fun. When asked by Watson, SPD media spokesperson confirmed that the malfunctioning timetable display was an operational status monitor. The spokesperson is not allowed to say which Windows operating system is used and how long it will take to receive security updates from the manufacturer. What the fuck you mean you're not allowed to say what Windows operating system is used? We can't say the version of it. I'm technically ignorant when you can't even admit that's Windows fucking 7? Are you serious? For security reasons, we can't provide any further details. However, we are taking precautions to ensure that the systems are protected. For security reasons, you can't even admit whether that is Windows 7, 10, 11, Linux, 3.1. That is security from obscurity, and that is complete fucking bullshit. How dare you call me technically ignorant? But you're not even able to say what version of Windows it is. But it gets better. It can technically be a assumed that such display boards are operated in a completely isolated network, so-called VLANs, without direct internet access. Therefore, panic regarding an outdated version of Windows 10 or Windows 7, even if we're outdated, is unfounded. No, that's not the point. It is not that. No, that's a category error. Isolation is going to stop remote attackers, but that has nothing to do with reliability. And this is a reliability issue. It is not the VLAN that failed. It is not the isolation that failed. It is the operating system that failed. But wait, it gets better. The error message, computers run out of working memory, is typical symptom of memory leak in a web browser. The Swiss Federal Railways relying Firefox for displaying public transformation in kiosk mode, and that's where the reason was for display error. Firefox in its so-called kiosk mode continuously loads live data such as triangulator track changes over days or weeks. However, if the unused memory is not properly released, the program will crash sooner or later. The browser process continues to grow until it uses up all the PC's RAM. At that point, the Windows protection mechanism kicks in the operating system, terminating the process, consuming the most memory to prevent a complete system freeze. Because Firefox is forced to close, the full screen closes, and therefore Rossman and his companions suddenly see the bare Windows desktop with a recycle bin. You called me technically ignorant when you're saying that Firefox is supposed to be operating in kiosk mode rather than the operating system. Where do I even begin here? Number one, you're not supposed to operate Firefox by hitting F11. That is not kiosk mode making Firefox full screen. Microsoft sells an entirely separate product for this whole thing, and it is not an outdated version of Windows 7. They sell Windows IoT Enterprise for fixed purpose devices like digital signs, kiosks, etc. It has 10 years of support, and Windows desktop version is not the product for that. If the reporter of this article had a fucking clue what they were talking about while calling me technically ignorant, they would realize that you do not run a browser in kiosk mode by hitting F11. That you run an operating system in kiosk mode. When you have an operating system that is designed to be used as a kiosk, you will never see the desktop wallpaper. You will never see the recycle bin. You will never see something running out of memory. In Linux, you can have something like systemd that's automatically going to restart or something like this happens. In Windows, they have a little product for this. Do you know why? In instant judgments about this article, you made me so mad. I am now going to defend New York City. How many times in the 20 fucking years that I've been taking subway have I ever seen a blue screen of death or an out of memory error on one of these or one of these? Never. It never happens because that is a proper system running a proper fucking kiosk. You will never see some out of memory error on any of those systems, which brings me to my main fucking point. The bug that you're seeing here with the out of memory, that's not a bug with Firefox. That's a bug with your outdated ass version of Windows, and it is reported by fucking Microsoft. Fixed desktop heap allocation failures causing out of memory errors. And when you scroll down, it literally says the physical RAM on the computer does not affect the desktop heap size. You can't improve the performance by adding physical RAM. This is a literal Windows limit, a Win32K kernel resource limit. This is Microsoft KB 947246 on Microsoft's website. So let's get this straight. You're using the wrong operating system for the job. You're using a 17 to 20-year-old outdated version of the wrong operating system for the job. You're not configuring it properly. I'm technically ignorant for pointing it out. My first video was a passing joke. This video is serious. Don't take my word for it. Take a look at Blue News. SPB struggles with known Windows problem in Xur. I apologize if my translation is not great here. I'm using Google Translate plugin. The blame probably lies with the system cache that is dimension too small by default. The desktop heap. This was covered over 2.5 years ago. You had 2.5 years to fix this shit, and you didn't. And instead of fix it, instead of say, oh yeah, our bad, we haven't got around to it, you want to discredit somebody who has dedicated their life to running a technology business and claiming that I'm technically ignorant in your fucking newspaper. Fuck you. My video is a joke. But since you guys are pretending to be news, let me demonstrate what a real newspaper writes about when you actually want to research and figure out what is causing the problem. The blame probably lies with the system cache that is dimension too small by default. The desktop heap. SPB struggles with known Windows problem in Xur because unlike you, who can't admit what operating system you're running. I see that you're running a version of Windows 7. A version of Windows 7 that Microsoft themselves admits has a bunch of bugs. This is a known bug with Microsoft Windows 7. Not only are you using an outdated operating system, but you are using the wrong version of the outdated operating system because browsers don't run in kiosk mode. Operating systems do. If you're using a minimal Linux operating system or a modern one, you wouldn't be having this problem. But more importantly, if you're using a Microsoft Windows product that was actually made for this, they do make products for this. You can buy an IoT version. You can buy a kiosk version of Windows rather than use a desktop one. You can use assigned access to run a single app full screen and have to restart Windows problem, which you didn't. You wouldn't be having this issue again. How fucking dare you call me technically ignorant when you did no research before making this stupid fucking article? And here's the thing that kills me about this more than anything else. It's not that you're wrong about all of this. It's not that you don't understand what assigned access is. It's not that you don't understand the concept of having a system D service that restarts when it's an issue. It's not the fact that you think that security through obscurity exists. That if I don't tell you that's using Windows 7, somehow it's more secure. Somehow the public is so fucking stupid they couldn't figure that out on their own. It's not that you denigrate my reputation in a public paper by saying I'm technically ignorant. It's that you chose to take a joke seriously. I know all of you at some point in your life have experienced that specific unique piece of shit human being that takes something that you said as a joke, takes it 100% seriously, and then uses it to frame you as an idiot or a buffoon. Nice try again. This is gonna piss me off among all. It's not that you call me technically ignorant in a major fucking newspaper when you didn't take 90 seconds of Googling to do any of your homework to look up if any of this stuff is true. It's that you chose to take something that's very clearly and obviously a joke seriously. I'm rescinding the apology that I put in the video comments there for people who are like actually taking this very seriously because I see at this point what this is. And it's just stupid. I love my time in Switzerland. Thank you very much. All the people that I met in Zurich and all the people that I met at the Marcus Valley concert, to the people that I met at Schweizer Monatic that did the interview that I on ownership that I really enjoyed doing for a few hours. Everybody there, like I was saying, 99% of the people that I met treated me like I was their brother. And it was just an amazing experience getting to meet so many of you in the streets in Switzerland. It was so beautiful. This is like the 1%. This is 1% of the people that I met. I'm doing my morning jog. I'm running and I say hi, ahoy, I'm still learning how to do this introduction, beach. I'm sorry, my accent sucks. So I say hi, wave, and they look at me like fuck you looking at me. And they stare and I don't wave saying that. Like I'm wondering like they're gonna put ice like spice on me or something. This is 1% of the people that I met that were so serious. I go, how are you? They look at me like, what do you mean how am I? What business is yours? How I am. I say, bro, just relax. And you're that 1%. You're that 1% of the asshole. And I made a mistake. My personal trainer told me for a long time, don't process bullshit. And Dino always told me, don't accept the premise of assholes. In deciding to write a 2-page article in this paper, I'm calling me technically ignorant. When you don't even know that Microsoft has a dedicated product for this, I accept the premise of assholes. And the last premise is this, that I knew exactly what I was doing. A clickbait title provides many reactions for people who want to disagree. The YouTube algorithm doesn't distinguish between blah blah blah. This is a throwaway video. This video is supposed to get 5,000 views maximum. I don't care if my YouTube videos get 1,000 views or a million views. You know why? Because I told people on my channel for 10 years install ad block. I don't have a single sponsor. You don't have to go to your website though. I get this bullshit. Please disable your ad blocker. 80 journalists here make a living from advertising. I don't care if my viewers get videos or not. I don't care if they have an ad blocker or not. Because I make my money by selling useful products and services to people who find my skills valuable. How many people would pay for a Watson article? You guys don't even know how to look up Microsoft bug reports. That's what I thought. I knew what I was doing. I was making a joke. Here's the thing. Let's be serious for a moment. I got over 4,000 videos on my channel. I talk about consumer rights all the time. One of the big reasons that I was in Switzerland was to do a 2-hour-long interview with a renowned magazine there to go over consumer rights and revocation of ownership. While I was in Switzerland, I talked about Bamboo Lab and I brought a bounty on Bamboo Lab, a company that's violating the AGPL to try and mainstream the concept of 3D printing being a lockdown ecosystem. There's a lot of stuff that I did while I was in Switzerland, engaging with people in the country and talking about what did you choose to go over? Did you choose to go over the substantive stuff, the 2-hour-long conversations that I was having about real genuine issues that affect people in society, or did you choose to go over the throwaway joke video? You know, the joke video. Why? Because you, unlike me, make your living from advertising, and you, unlike me, care about the things that don't matter that are gonna get more attention. Okay, you, that shit. Nice try. That's what today. As always, I hope you learned something. To the writer of the article, Watson, go fuck yourself. Being that 1%. Thank you very much to everybody that I met in Zurich, making me feel like I was at home. I genuinely enjoyed it, and I can't wait to go back. I'll see you all later. Maybe I'll do a meetup on there next time. I'll see you in the next video. Bye now.
Welcome back to State of the Workflow. My name is Mike Hurley. This time I'm joined by Lauren Brantz. Lauren is a poet and illustrator and a pretty accomplished one. She's a 2-time Emmy Award winner and a New York Times best-selling author. The Emmys came from her work on Sesame Street, and her bestseller is Poems of Parenting, a collection of illustrated poems about the reality of raising kids. That book started as a series of posts on Instagram, where Lauren has built a huge following sharing her poems and illustrations, which clearly resonated enough that they've taken on a whole new life of their own. Lauren is also the creator of Cupcake, the Good Advice Cupcake, which she built while working at BuzzFeed, and which became one of their biggest original characters going extremely viral. These days, Lauren is a fully independent creative. I wanted to talk to Lauren because I find the way that she works to be really interesting. She is a writer and an illustrator, and I wanted to understand what that creative process actually looks like. How do the ideas come? How does she know when something's working? And also how she's built a career around this creativity. To me, the idea of talking to a poet was just very interesting. How does someone structure their life to encourage this kind of creativity? That's what we're going to get into in our conversation. Before we get started, though, there's something I want to mention. Since we recorded this episode, it came to light that BuzzFeed has licensed the copy character that Lauren created to Amazon for an AI-generated animated series without Lauren's involvement. Lauren has spoken out about this publicly and is very against the way in which BuzzFeed has gone about all this. Obviously, we didn't talk about it because it hadn't happened, but I will include a link in the show notes so you can learn more, and I really recommend that you do. One last thing, stick around to the end of the episode today because I have a new project I'm working on that I want to share with you. Without further ado, let's get started. Okay, so Lauren, I want to get started today by asking, what is your favorite app right now? Something you're using on your phone, your computer that's useful for you, bringing you joy, whatever it is.
I'm using an app a lot. I have to say that I was surprised I would use a lot. It's Gabby Bernstein's app. She's a motivational speaker, and I.
Okay, so Lauren, I want to get started today by asking, what is your favorite app right now? Something you're using on your phone, your computer that's useful for you, bringing you joy, whatever it is.
I'm using an app a lot. I have to say that I was surprised I would use a lot. It's Gabby Bernstein's app. She's a motivational speaker, and I forget how I came across her. I think on Instagram, but I thought it was kind of fast. Like manifestation, trying to manifest things in my life phase from my 20s. And she has a lot of that. She also has so many great meditations and relaxation techniques, and I actually go to sleep for her voice every night to the point where it's like Lovian. She's like, hi friends, and I'm like, immediately whenever I would get so tired, I think. But it's really great.
Yeah, I have some nice sleep headphones that I use, and they play like wave noises. And literally as soon as I hear them, like, I don't think I need them anymore for sleep, but now it's just I think maybe I would never sleep if I didn't have them. It's making noise. So you are an independent author and artist now. That's what you are right now. But I want to talk a little bit, kind of set some context about how we got to this point, and maybe digging into a couple of the roles that got you today. I'm right in understanding you worked on Sesame Street. Now that is awesome. What did you do at Sesame Street?
So I was actually at the Jim Henson Company working on the puppets and the props for Sesame Street. I had an internship there my senior year, just fell in love with it, and I was going to do this.
Did you have an education background in that kind of work?
No, and it was a real fake it till you make it situation. I was like in the back with like power tools I had never used, just being like, I'm gonna make this work. I'm gonna do this. It was so dangerous. I actually did bleed on like several puppets and had to like cover it up.
Also, almost like accidental, really. Like it was, you know, you were doing digital work, you got an internship doing physical work, and decided that's what you wanted to do.
Yeah, so I did traditional animation, which is really lost art form, very unnecessary degrees. I was drawing with pencils all day, and then I started interning in both that and Jim Henson, and it really opened up for me a new world of like ways to use your creativity to have a positive impact on the world. It wasn't just animation and storytelling. So yeah, it was surprising and exciting. I was there for 5 years.
And then after this point, you went back into the digital world, right? You were BuzzFeed, was that right after?
Yes, there was a small break. So I was doing children's books independently while I was at Henson. I never stopped doing them. I was doing them at college, and I got to a point. I just got married. We went to have a family, and we really needed health insurance, and like needed to be able to provide more. So I saw a job listing at BuzzFeed for Illustrator, and there were not a lot of jobs for illustrators within corporations. So I jumped on it. I didn't get it the first time. I interviewed, and then I got it the second time, and then I was there for 10 years.
10 years. Wow. Now, one of the things that comes up most in doing research about you is the character you created called Cupcake, the Good Advice Cupcake. How on earth did this come to be? Like, it almost seems strange now to think that this was a thing that BuzzFeed were kind of dabbling in, like animation. So how did that come around?
So I was there, and I was drawing and writing, and we started doing comics there. A bunch of the people on my team, like Adam Miller, comic illustrators. I was doing mostly characters that was based on me, and then Cupcake was kind of like an extreme version of me. Like if you took my most extreme personality traits, put it into a comic, I just wanted to like shit people. I'm not violent, but like this is your life. Like grab it by the horns, tell who's boss. And so I found a way to do that for me, and went viral right away. And they were starting an animation team too, and they were like, we should animate this character. And then there was a big struggle on how that was going to work because it wasn't an animation studio and there wasn't a contract. It was a whole big kerfuffle. But eventually, I was like, I get to draw all day and have health insurance, let's do it, and we did. And it was serious for a long time.
Yeah, it was very successful. There's an Instagram account with like millions of followers. Yeah, there was products in stores, in merchandise, and everything. What did that feel like to create a character that's so popular that belongs to someone else when you're doing it in the world in which people do independent stuff? Like, it's not like working for yourself for a big animation studio where there's a big team coming together to create characters. You create this one.
It was a little frustrating, and it did start to like drain me after a while, and I could feel sort of the soul of Cupcake eating because I wasn't just making it, I was churning it out, and numbers, and it became something that wasn't me. It became like an employee.
Stupid
It was just like
creative
art started to drain away because I was very grateful to have a job, and performance art job, we were doing that sort of thing, and I love people that know
His
where
was like a
people at the
nurse.
same time felt like my soul was being sucked out of me slowly.
Because it's like the reason
Doesn't
viral,
even
reason
know
go viral
the
does not help to continue when you're constantly
thing
looking at those
anymore.
two things really kind of start to come into conflict with each other at some point. Right? It does feel like the employee at the end of the day, which is very strange to think about, but it's probably I'm sure how it felt.
Exactly.
So you were at BuzzFeed for how long?
10 years.
And then we get, I think, closer towards today. And the way that I came across your work, as I'm sure that many people do, especially people in my situation having just had a kid, is through your poems on parenting. And you post those to Instagram, and you also have a book that started as posts on Instagram. What encouraged you to start writing? So there are poems and illustrations that you do as well.
It was very sudden. I always been writing poetry for children, and then I was writing comics for adults, and I never really gave the poetry that much thought. But one night we all had colds, like 5 minutes, and slept in like 2 days, and I finally got my son to go to sleep 6 a.m. or something. And so I'm in bed, and I'm like, I'm gonna unwind by looking at pictures of him. And then he starts crying, and I was like, oh my god. And immediately like wrote a poem about it. It was the first poem I wrote to We're like, oh my god, shut up, I'm trying to look at photos of you. And from there I just couldn't stop writing them. He had to put himself to sleep, so I was like, I'm writing poetry. So it was good to see like a little bit of sleep training, and it all happened really fast from there.
So once you started writing them, how long did you start publishing them?
I posted the first one the next day. I was working with Rachel at the time, and I just kind of been like, I'm done with BuzzFeed. I've done my time on the internet. I want to get a break and something else, and I hadn't done anything for myself in a while. So I started posting them, and I was every day. So I was getting all these messages about the poems, and I was flying about these, and I got this message that was like, you're thinking about publishing these, and I thought that was someone on my Instagram and like the person that wanted to know, and I was like, I don't know, I might self-publish or something, who knows, like thanks so much. And then I checked their profile, and it was the executive editor of HarperCollins. So I was like, what did I even write to them?
Maybe that's yes. Always yes.
Yes, and I have an agent, and very professional, and you just talk to them. So I was like, I didn't realize that. She said she wasn't like talk to my agent for serious conversation, and that would go from there. And the book.
I was going to ask you if you decided I want to write a book about this, but it kind of feels like the book came to you really, which is the fun thing about it.
Yeah, it was nice because I've had books I really felt like I kind of pushed out creatively, and then books that felt like they just came ready to go.
Once you knew this was the path, so you were going to turn this into a book, did the content or the way you're thinking about the poems they changed? Like, did you start thinking about the more pages in the book and post on Instagram, or was it very much the same, but they were easy to kind of combine in your mind?
I think either way, I was thinking of it more as poetry, no matter where it was going to go, book or online. So I didn't even think about how it would be online or anything. It was just about making the poems art. And it ended up when I collected them all, it was very cosmic or something, but they did end up having enough for each section of from baby to toddler. So ended up in that order.
When you're writing them, are you kind of choosing that you want to spend time to write these things, or do they just appear to you like the first one that you mentioned? Does that tend to be the way they come about?
Yes, that's usually how I work. They kind of pop into my head. There are times I've done poems for someone and you write a poem that doesn't spend time and write it, but most of the time it just kind of sneezes in your brain.
They're funny, but they also hit very hard emotionally. Is this something you have to manage? Do you sometimes have to add funny to some things, or do they just come to you that way? The balance.
They typically come that way, and I feel like that's a result of parenting being that way. It's such a dichotomy of feelings all the time. So beautiful, so stressful, so funny, so miraculous. So they just end up coming out like that.
Yeah, I think that is what your work captures. I imagine what resonates with so many people is that it is such a strange thing. I think I couldn't fully appreciate until I was in it. You can have these at the same time two very, very different emotions, and they're both equal. And it's very hard to express how you can feel both like angry and happy at the same time.
Yeah.
It's very strange, and that is great. I'm sure that this is part of the reason why Guns Parenting became a New York Times bestseller. Did you expect that? Is there any way someone could expect something like that?
So the truth is, I mean, I vision boarded that on here, so part of me was really expecting. I mean, and it was like a big dream of mine, and so I come true was really exciting. I don't know if that's expectation as much as hope, but yeah, I don't know how I would have felt if it didn't happen, but I probably wouldn't have been bummed out.
It feels like something that could happen, right? Like, especially because it was popular online. You hope you kind of got a bit of a groundswell kind of thing going on that you get you to that point. Did you have to do like a big book tour and lots of engagements and all that kind of stuff as part of this?
I did a mini book tour that I put on myself as how it is, Soccer Life, and I did some podcasts and things. And I told all my friends and anyone that like had any sort of following you online. Seriously, that's most of it.
Does being a bestselling author help you with other things now when it comes to other books and other projects? Like, does having that attached to your name kind of open doors?
You know, I don't really know because no one's like, we're giving you a because I'm sure it does. I can imagine it doesn't help on some level.
And now going in this direction, where you said you were writing children's books, now you're kind of writing about children for adults. Has this changed the types of things you want to make next?
Not really. I kind of go with whatever I'm most creatively excited about. It comes up in my head. Typically it's for children, so I'm actually back on that path. I also have a book for adults coming out again next year. So I really like both. I don't think I ever expected to write for adults. I always thought children's media and my focus, but then when I had it became a viewer of a child, all that into.
I guess it's nice to see that, 'cause I can imagine it would be very easy to fall into the trap of feeling like you've got to kind of right away for like, oh, this works so well, I should make a sequel. And like maybe talking about when you were at BuzzFeed and pushing something too hard, maybe that's fun. Maybe there's something in there that you carry forward.
Yeah, I'm very aware of how my best ideas come to this point, and it involves making a lot of space for them to come.
This episode of Cortex is brought to you by Fitbod. If you're looking to make changes to your fitness, getting started can feel like a struggle. That's why I'm pleased to let you know that so go now and get your customized fitness plan at fitbod.me/cortex. One last time, fitbod.me/cortex to get 25% off your membership thanks to Fitbod for the support of this show and relay. Do you brainstorm or do you wait for ideas to come? Like, what is your process? Like, if you're sitting down for the day, but you want to get some work done, some great work, what is your typical process for that?
So I do have like a morning routine that has come and gone. You know, it depends on the season of your life. I think my kids are 2. Like, it's possible because I wasn't sleeping at night.
Yeah, I've lost both my morning daily and weekly routines at the moment.
It'll be back. I do the same process, and a lot of my days trying to make space for that to come. I feel like it all starts with an intent. So like my intent is always to make work that I can do art and writing has a positive impact on the world. So I hold that in my mind, and it's kind of like I think when you can't think of someone's name and you try and it's not gonna come, but when you stop thinking about it, it's kind of the same way with ideas. So I wake up in the morning and I have like a sticky note in front of my face when I wake up and it says, "Who are you today?" and what is it that you're serving the world? And I say, "I'm Warren Branson," and open my mind, I created a lot of things that go with that. I'm an author, I'm an illustrator, I help children, and then what am I serving today? You know, how am I bringing joy to the world? How am I like helping people feel less alone? How am I using what I can't help people? And so I start my day with that, and then I go and I get my gallery for school, and then my son still sleeps, so I go and meditate. Sometimes I get through the meditation, sometimes he wakes me, and then I have like a really funny process that my husband thinks is gonna be like the weirdest thing that ever happened when people discover later on, but I journal in a really funny way. Okay, so first off, I never know what the date is, so I just don't pay attention to that. So it says like question mark, and then I want to journal because I want to get my words to my hands. I don't want anyone to ever know what I'm actually thinking, so it's all like scribble. So I have like mountains of journals filled with like just scribbly writing that like I can't even read afterwards. So like I know what I'm writing, but it's not actual words.
Okay, so in the moment you're saying something, and your hand is moving along with you saying the thing, but it is indecipherable. That's fascinating.
Yeah, the little bits you can kind of read. It's just like the worst handwriting you could possibly imagine, and it's almost like when my 7-year-old is a French person. It's kind of like that, but I also get my thoughts out, and then I also feel like I'm not setting myself up. You know, I can say anything because it's not legible.
I'm a big fan of paper, and there's a company called Field Notes. They make these beautiful pocket notebooks, and their tagline is, "I'm not writing it down to remember it later. I'm writing it down to remember it now."
Yes.
And that's always really resonated with me because I don't often go back and read notes that I've written in notebooks. Having written them crystallizes it in my mind. So like you're just doing the most pure version of that, whereas you can't read it. No, I can read it. So, wow, that's fascinating. I really like that.
We laugh a lot about my kids finding my old journals after that. So I being like, "Mom's completely insane. How do we not know?" I'm writing in my journal. Everyone's just like writing nothing. She didn't know. So I do 2 pages at least, and then I take my son to school. And I try to get a lot of walking in my day because I get my best ideas when I'm walking.
When you're walking, are you listening to anything?
No, and I do have like a specific thing that I try to do, which is kind of a meditative walk, but I think I read it somewhere, like a book or something. But I try to look at everything around without labeling it in my head. So I look at a tree without thinking the word tree. And the longer you do it, it's kind of hard to explain, but it really makes you feel like a fuller picture and a fuller connection to the world because you're not having all these labels. This is going to sound a little out there, but it's like I'm at the bakery, I'm looking at a piece of bread. If I don't think the word bread, suddenly I'm like imagining all the steps that went into making that bread. The wheat, the farm being cold, the grinding, and the packaging, the person shipping it. And it's not just the bread, it's everything. It's kind of like the way we make stuff. Like, I think it's how people feel like when on drugs that you do naturally.
It's just natural performance nonsense.
Yes.
I love hearing people talk about these kinds of things because everybody's so different and it's like it can be hard to try and pull anything from one puzzle. You can read a lot, you can pick out these little details, but it's the type of work that you do. So interesting because it requires you to be able to take in so much about the world and about your surroundings in a way to try and describe it to other people. So I can imagine there has to be like a bunch of tricks of kind of taking the maximum amount of information all the time without trying to do that, because you're trying to find anything that can spark a thought, right?
Yeah, I would say I'm like a hypersensitive kind of person. I have trouble filtering out the world.
So do you have like a long list of half-formed ideas?
Yes, I have on my phone like a gajillion poems that I just write offhand every now and then, little ideas, and then I have a big list on my computer and I try to organize it by importance, so like when it needs to be done in sections, and then things I'm gonna get to like 10 years, all the way down, and I just gotta go through it.
Where do you keep these? Where are they? Where have they?
They're on the Google Docs.
Google Docs. Do you have one Google Doc that everything goes in, or do you have different Google Docs?
I have two master Google Docs. One is like work that's like happening right now, like deadline, plus family stuff, like, and also volume phrases. And then I have one that's just word focused. And then I also have one now for my print shop that's just print shop focused.
Do you have a task manager and you need to do all reminders that you use, or is it all in a Google Doc?
It's a Google Doc, and I do use the reminders app on my phone.
Okay, but like things maybe they come from Google, like going to reminders, so you're reminded to do a thing. If it's important, it has to be done at a specific time.
Yeah, like you have to buy milk and also finish. Like things that are really coming at you.
Yeah, some things are very small tasks, some are huge. So you mentioned you have this routine. Do you schedule time for creative work, or do you try and keep that flexible? You say, like, Wednesday, I'm going to take all day, I'm going to get away with all distractions, and that's going to be creative time, or do you kind of just fit it in where it works in your life?
I'd say it's a kind of organic situation. It's flexible, but it's also, I'm lucky enough, I think, in the past year I've just been full-time writing for myself, so it feels like any time that I'm working is like to be creative. There isn't like a lot of people want to do things like that. I really try to, have the two most important things, like family, work, and I try to spend as much time with those two things as I can, and I try to be as present with that thing. But really, when kids are at school, it's like activity, work time, but kids are home, kids time, especially after 5 p.m. I have a break for my phone.
Ah, okay. How does that work? So this is the thing where you tap your phone, it locks selection of apps that you want. Do you find it useful?
I love my break. I can't recommend it enough. It's so useful. I break at night and then I break through the night. I don't let myself look at my phone until after journal time. I just don't want to look at my phone when I first wake up, even though it's very tempting to do.
So you're locking out everything?
Everything, no email. I can do text messaging also like regular dumb phone, I guess. But yeah, and then I break on Friday night or weekend.
Yeah, I think as time goes on, I'm starting to realize that I need to be more judicious about this myself. Like, I've taken a bunch of apps off my phone just completely, but I've definitely had that thing where I replaced the Instagram app on my home screen with a books app. And for a few days, kept asking myself, why am I looking at a book right now? You know, because I just reflexively hitting icons. I think I need to kind of pare that down a little bit more sometimes. But yeah, I've seen the break. I actually bought one a long time ago because I got an ad for them on Instagram. I was like, it seems interesting. I wanted to kind of know more about what they were doing. They seem to be very successful.
Yeah, it's really hard. I read that book Dopamine Nation that was freaking out and got me even more into blocking my phone for myself. And I really do feel like when I have a full day off of it, I become smarter. Like instantly, just like I can do math all of a sudden, thinking clearly.
Do you feel like you have your work-life balance pretty set?
Probably not. I'm one of those people that when you do what you love and then you're doing it all the time, but I kind of accepted it and I like it. And I think for a while I was trying to fight that. Like, there's all this messaging that you should have better balance or social life. Maybe I'll quote about the person. And once I realized that's just not me or my personality, I love my work. I want to do it all the time. I want to help my kids. I just do it and try not to like judge myself for it.
You found the balance that works for you, not necessarily what works for others, which I think is the best way to do it. I think we're bombarded with specific ways to do things, and they don't work for everybody. When you're writing your poems, where are you writing them into?
The ones about parenting, it's often when I'm parenting, so I'll quickly write it in my notes app and then come back later when I can actually focus and write more thoughtfully. That is often when I'm writing.
Do you ever write like this on pen and paper, or is it always digital in some way?
It's digital or I do a voice message.
I guess the inspiration means that you're usually thinking of these things when you're already busy, so I guess the phone's very helpful in that regard. You use notes, you can use the voice recorder on other platforms. So then when you're actually producing art itself, where is that happening?
That's at my desk. I have a Cintiq, so you just draw right on it.
And the text, how's that laid out?
I put it together in Photoshop and write it there. I do hand draw some things, and especially children's books, I add color pencil and stuff like that, but it's mostly digitally.
When you're working on something, whether it's a poem or any part of your book, you're writing work, do you have people around you that you share work with for feedback?
Yes, my husband sees everything. I say he's like my head editor or something. Very helpful. I don't always do what he suggests, but I really like his eyes on it. And he's like a grammar robot, so he just knows that part of things. And I used to share things with my mom until I realized that her reactions were doing it. So I stopped and I just showed them for what it's done and she loves it. But she has trouble like imagining finished products. You know, if I was like, no, it's going to be this baby with 10 minutes, she'd be like, I don't know, Lord.
Well, I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know about it.
So the circle is very small.
Yeah.
When you're producing for things to be a book, you have to share them, I'm assuming, with a team at your publisher?
Yes, I'll share with an agent.
Yeah.
And he shares with my editors, they'll share them. And I also, the kids' books, I do send it to neighborhood kids together.
And how are you with feedback?
I used to be really bad at it. It was one of my worst qualities growing up as an artist, and then I've evolved, and I like it now. I like feedback.
How did you get better? I think it was about how.
Well, I dug my heel in on some things, and it wasn't the right thing to do, and it was a big lesson that, like, you know, you listen to other people, and get feedback, and sometimes it helps it, and figuring out when you don't want that feedback or how to express that you wouldn't like it in a nice way. It just became a very important way to have a good relationship with publishing houses and editors so that I can continue to make them. You know, so it's part of the work. My first book published ever was actually, I think, like my best book, and I was really young, and I took it HarperCollins by hand because it was before you like email or anything, and they brought it back down, and they were like, the editor loved it, and you could edit it down to 32 pages, bring it back, we'll take another look, and then I was like 21, and I was like, F you. I'm not editing this down. Never. And I went and I did it at 64 pages, and I ended up with like a very small new publishing house, and they ran out of like money to transport the books or something. And looking back on that, I feel like it might have been a good idea to edit them. But again, actually, like, I don't know what the lesson story is.
I mean, there is no lesson. It's just a thing that you realize you maybe reacted to it more negatively than you should have.
Yeah, I could have taken it
Because they were obviously coming at it with some level of experience, right? They're like, we think you got to do this, but you at that point made the decision for you.
Yeah, you know, there are times when you just know you want something a certain way. I always consider it though. There have been times when I thought I knew, and then eventually realized they were right. It's happened quite a few times. I think that might also be why I've softened the feedback. Because my first reaction is always absolutely not, and then like a month later, I'm like, that's great. We should do that.
This episode of Cortex is brought to you by Sentry. Building with AI is exciting until something breaks and you don't have any idea why. Agent LLM Core failed. Which tool timed out? How much did that agent run actually cost? Sentry, that's SENTRY, gives you full visibility into your AI features. Agent runs LLM calls to execution, token usage, and cost. And the key thing is all in the same place you're already monitoring your application. Your AI observability sits right alongside your aerospace logs and replays. Everything's connected, no context switching. It works with AI agents, Vercel AI, LangChain, and more. A few lines of code and you're in. I'm seeing more and more people integrate LLMs into their coding. Some people are doing it fully, some people are just using it for some tasks. But however you're doing it, something that's really important is that you understand how the code impacts your users. And this is what Sentry is helping you with. As you're having bugs and you're having issues, you can see where it came from, whether that's from something that a developer entered or something that LLM entered. I think that's fantastic. It helps you really keep 1,000 views of your code and also like really dig into it too. Millions of developers use Sentry, including your favorite AI companies. Try it free at SENTRY.io and tell them we sent you. Have a free dev plan and listen to the show. Use the code Cortex26 to get $100 in Sentry credits if you're a new user. Thanks to Sentry for their support of the show and all of your life. Mentioning feedback, I mean, you're publishing into the world of social media. You know, you're publishing your work daily to hundreds of thousands of people. How do you deal with that kind of feedback?
I actually post twice a week very like rigidly because otherwise I get kind of caught up in the tornado of always posting, which then my brain only thinks about content, and I would rather think about books and things. So I get cognitive of that. And when I post, I always ask myself two questions. I say, who is this serving? Is this actually helpful to the world? Is it going to make someone laugh, feel less alone, or anything? And also, do I love this enough that even if nobody liked it or everyone hated it, I stand by it and like it? And if you ask those questions, I post it. I have to know when I usually post it, or I'll post it and then I should have just listened to myself at least.
And so even if you answer those questions, it doesn't mean everyone's going to like what you say one way or another. Or they disagree, they have different opinions. Do you read comments?
I do read comments. I think BuzzFeed really strengthened my shell to comments because the comments were bananas at BuzzFeed, and the trolling was so intense. And I don't know if you remember Disney Princess's Realistic Waste Lines. That was my first thing, and I got death threats from it, which was so scary.
When was that roughly?
So long ago. It was 2014.
That feels like such a long time ago that wasn't common. I mean, it should never be common, but I feel like that kind of intense hate happens more now than it used to.
Yeah, at the time, it was really ramping up. Like, Twitter was twittering, everyone was getting really trolly online. Thoughts were happening. They freaked me out so much. I actually thought I was having a heart attack, but I wasn't. And I was like going to the cardiologist running the heart monitor, and I realized it was from somebody's death threat. It's so alarming when you open up a message and it says something scary. And even if you're just like the most, calm person, it's very difficult to not feel that stress. So, you know, I did 10 years of that kind of feedback. And now I'm pretty good at letting it roll off.
Yeah, but if you go through that and still decide you want to be part of that world, you must have been able to kind of build a bit of an armor to it.
Yes, and also I do think about when I post, like, is this actually productive?
Having such a presence on Instagram, you are giving a lot of content to Instagram's algorithm, into that platform. Do you feel like you're getting something back for that?
I am now, and I was then. I mean, you know, it exposes you to people. I think it's how I got deals. It's connecting with people. I love hearing from readers on Instagram and makes you feel like you're more community. So I don't like reels or YouTube, so I never got that monetization aspect. And after a while, my husband's like, you have like millions of followers, and why aren't we like rich? I'm like, I don't know, it just didn't work out that way. Yeah, sometimes you're doing something wrong. Can you like ask somebody how those will be? But eventually now, you know, the books are doing better, and I also started selling prints. I'm interested in rates. So monetarily, I do feel like I'm getting something that way also.
I don't know if you know this, but I'm assuming lots of people find you from your work being shared, not just you, but like people sharing your work with others. That's how my wife and I came across you. She was served a post in her algorithm, and then she sent it to me by direct message, and then I followed you from there. I'm assuming that probably happens quite a lot for you, whether you know it or not.
Yeah, I think that's pretty much primarily how people find my work.
It's like a direct pathway, like, hey partner, did you see this? It just carries on from there. You mentioned earlier about working with Miss Rachel. Is that something that you're still currently doing?
I'm not currently still doing it aside from Yellow Friends, and I'll give them advice sometimes. But no, actually, so I'm gonna rewind a little. I was at BuzzFeed forever, and I think like 5 or 6 years in. I really wanted to do it. I did not want to be there for so many different reasons. And every day, you know, people around me, my husband and my mom would talk me out of it. You know, health insurance, you have a child with disabilities, you need disability, like you can't quit every day practically. I would freak out and quit. And eventually, I'd been friends with Rachel for a long time, and she was coming to this inflection point in her company where they were about to do licensing, they were working on stuff that they needed help with books and all these things that I had experienced. So we were always looking for advice, and it's like, wait a minute, he went out with us, and why don't I come work for you? And she was like, yes, of course. And it was one of those times where everyone around me still really didn't want me to quit. They didn't have a contract with her, or just like SC. She texted me, I was like, this is enough, I don't need a contract, I'm quitting, like nobody can stop me. So I quit, and it was such a blessing, and I'm so grateful. And then I was working as an executive director for Aaron, her husband, for 6 months, which was incredible, but very consuming. And I found myself kind of like my shower thoughts were going to them, my like walking thoughts were going, which was great, like, it was a great job, and I love the show. But part of me was like, what if my shower thoughts were to me? What if I like, you know, finally did it as a full-time writer, illustrator, and then they think that start talking about the poems, and I got the book deal, and I was like, it's time to find that.
And I imagine as well that at some point, again, you come back to you want to shape your own ideas rather than someone else's
ideas or ideas for someone else, right? It's like going back to your career where you're kind of always doing things for other people, and I guess you maybe got to the point where you really wanted to do was have your own outlet that's yours.
Yeah, totally. And I think as an artist, it's really hard and really scary to try to do that because the career isn't known for making consistent salary or benefits or anything. But at a certain point, you just have to try.
I want to kind of touch on some bigger picture things with you. We're creating the world that you want, and you have them. Just creating things for children and also for parents carry a different set of responsibilities to other types of work that you could produce. If you were creating poems that were affirmations just for people in general, I feel like that would carry less responsibility and less weight to the type of work that you produce.
Yeah, I think when it comes to writing for children or making media or TV, the weight of the seriousness is heavy. I know a lot of kids, books and TV are partially raising them. I think of it as like how would I want to kind of parent all these kids, what would I want them to hear, and if this kid's not hearing that, how do I get it to them? So I take it very seriously. I think these things end up being the voices in their heads. I think in a lot of ways. I mean, for me personally, I was kind of like an odd dog as a kid, and so I felt a lot of comfort. It's like I say space, books and cartoon, and those characters, those become kind of your friends. And that was something I always wanted to give to other kids when I was older, like make those characters make them feel comfortable and safe when they didn't necessarily feel like they had that in their family or their friends at school or anything like that.
And when it comes to looking at work for parents, do you have areas that you feel like you try to be very careful about? So like things that parents struggle with, like anger and upset or feeling less than for the parents. Do you ever feel like you have to tackle these kinds of things?
Yeah, I do. Actually, my next book coming out, I'm expecting is a lot about that and sort of the journey of my daughter being very explosive and realizing that you don't have any control of that. You can only kind of control your reaction to it. And the mom in that just, she has her inner peace. She's like cool and collected, and the kid in it, I think, gets to feel really seen and also makes it lighter, humorous, and I think it's helpful for the kids that way.
So you did share a version of the book with me. So I would say I am the spicy nugget in my household. I actually took quite a lot from it personally. I was like, oh, okay, this makes me feel a little bit better. So it's really lovely. I think people really enjoy it. It feels very much in line with poems. Did it come from there?
There was a poem called Spicy Little Nugget because that was something I called my daughter. So with her, every kid's different, but imagine if like the number one way of dealing with her big feelings, if I can catch her before it's full blown tantrum. So I called her Spicy Nugget and I told her I was going to like her and melt the core off just like a real silly game. And she thought it was funny, and then that's where the poem came from.
Obviously, you're able to draw. You do draw a lot from your life to produce your work. Do you have boundaries? I'm sure you do. There are areas you don't touch on.
Yeah, definitely. And that was hard at BuzzFeed specifically because they wanted you to turn out so much content when looking at like on my relationship. But I'm here, and I really do take advantage of their readers that way because they end up starting to share all these personal things just to make more stuff. At this point in my life, I try to be really careful showing my kids online things about them. It's hard because they're really adorable. I'm like, look at this cute kid. But I know, like after probably 4 hours, like I'm not gonna share so much.
Yeah, I watched a great video like years ago that Joanna Stone, she was the Wall Street Journal, and she made a video kind of talking about sharing photos of kids online. And her whole point was the way that like community know about AI at this point, just like facial recognition training and stuff like that. It's like you share enough photos with these kids are in the system. And do you want to make that decision for them? It's always really stuck with me. So we don't share any pictures of our daughter. But why do I want to?
I know it's so hard. It's
so bad. I just want to, because I'm so proud of her and I love her so much. I want to share that with everyone. But then also that thing in the back of my head is like you shouldn't want to share that with everyone. That's your thing.
The AI has made it really extra scary.
Scary.
Yeah.
So you mentioned your next book. Can you tell us a little bit about that? When it's coming? What can people do about that to kind of find out more?
It's coming out November 15th. It's available for pre-order now. It's about a kid that gets so angry they turn into a spicy nugget, and nothing's gonna calm them down themselves. A lot of it was I found that traditional parenting advice hasn't worked for me. The things I'm supposed to say to my daughter, like keeping you safe from bidding, would just make it so much worse. Like, why are you saying that to me? I tried to hug her, she would like end up kicking me. And I realized that she really needs to come for herself. She just needs time. I need to just model being a peaceful person. So in the book, she just goes through it, writes out with emotions. The parents there for her, and then they kind of unpack it a little after.
So people have that. I will again obviously have to recommend Poems of Parenting to people. If you are a parent, you know a parent, great. If you know anyone that's becoming parents, great gift. Like this is a gift that people will appreciate. So I'll give that additional plug for you.
Thank you.
This episode is brought to you by Squarespace, the all-in-one website platform that is designed to help you stand out and succeed online. Whether you're just starting out or scaling existing business, Squarespace will give you all. Thanks again to Lauren for joining me. I love this conversation. I find her creative process to be absolutely fascinating, so it's really great to get into it. I mentioned that I had a project I wanted to share with you. So over 10 years, I've been working with Jason Snell on a podcast called Upgrade. We publish every Monday, and it's about what's going on with Apple and tech. It's a news of the show. We talk about what's going on in the week, review products, that kind of thing. When Apple turned 50 earlier on this year in April, we made an episode of the show which was actually more historical, going back and looking at the history of how they were founded, talking about how they came together. It was really heavily researched and it was a really great time. I loved doing it. And our audience loved it too. We were getting so many great comments and people wanted more, so we're doing that. 2 weeks ago, Jason and I launched a Kickstarter campaign to fund the first year of a podcast that we're calling Design in California. This is a heavily researched historical focus show talking about the entire history of Apple over the last 50 years. We're going to be jumping around, we're going to be doing chronologically, we'll be telling the stories of products, telling the stories of what goes on behind the scenes, using books, podcasts, interviews, tons of research to produce, I would say, a pretty definitive story of Apple's history. If this is of interest to you, please go to design.fm and you can check out our Kickstarter campaign. It's been incredibly successful. We funded on day one. We're going to be producing the show now at least for a year. I mean, we've got really great resources and a great runway now because people have been so supportive and encouraging. But I wanted to also give you a taste of the show. So throughout the month of June, we've been publishing kind of teaser episodes essentially of the first season, the second episode of Upgrade every week. So this episode that I'm going to play for you now is the first episode of those. You can go and catch the rest of them in the Upgrade feed. And then the show will launch everyone later on this year. We're pre-selling memberships essentially as part of the Kickstarter campaign. So with this, we are telling the story of how Apple goes from their first computer, the Apple I, to the Apple II, which is a huge leap. And so we're telling the story of how they go from like system circuit boards, which is kind of like soldering together in a garage, to an actual computer inside the case that they sell to people. So this is the first episode of the road to the Apple II. And so if you enjoy this, you can go check out the rest of the episodes in the Upgrade feed and I'll put a link in the show notes, as well as to the Kickstarter campaign for Design in California. If you have any interest in technology, in business, if you're going to love this, it's going to be going through the entire history of one of the most important companies in all history. So thanks for checking it out. I'll see you next time for another episode of Say Hello Love. People have been hearing all sorts of things about computers during the past 10 years of the media. Supposedly, computers have been controlling various aspects of their lives. Yet, in spite of that, most adults have no idea what a computer really is or what it can or can't do. Now, for the first time, people can actually buy a computer for the price of a good stereo, interact with it, and find out all about it. We started a little personal computer manufacturing company in a garage in Los Altos in 1976. Now we're the largest personal computer company in the world. We make what we think of as the Rolls-Royce of personal computers. It's a domesticated computer. People expect blinking lights, so what they find is that it looks like a portable typewriter, which, connected to a suitable readout screen, is able to display in color. There's feedback it gives to people who use it, and the enthusiasm of the users is tremendous. So always ask what it can do, and it can do a lot of things. But in my opinion, the real thing it is doing right now is to teach people how to program the computer. These are the words of a 22-year-old Steve Jobs quoted in the November 14th, 1977 issue of the New Yorker. Welcome to Design in California. We are telling the best stories from across 50 years of Apple history. My name is Mike Hurley, and I am joined by Jason Snell. Hello, Jason Snell.
Hello, Mike Hurley. It's going to be back. So many decades, so many eras, so many different stories to tell. Really excited to be telling the stories with you.
Jason, what is this computer that Steve Jobs is talking about here in the New Yorker?
Yes, talking about the Apple II computer, Mike. The Apple II, Steve Wozniak's second computer design, at least out of the ages of Apple computer. Now, we're here continuing a story that we started on the 50th anniversary of Apple, which is tell some of the story of the very earliest days, prehistory and very early history. We're talking 1976 when they signed those papers through basically early 1977. Extending essentially where young Steve Jobs shows up randomly in an article in the New Yorker. Last time we talked about how it came to be, how it all happened because a 26-year-old Steve Wozniak designed his own personal computer circuit board, and a 21-year-old Steve Jobs had the idea to produce a bunch of them and sell them to a local computer store. Now, when we left you, Apple registered the partnership, had gotten some help in doing net 30 accounting from their suppliers because they didn't have the money otherwise to buy the supplies to assemble computers to fulfill that first set of Apple I's to their first customer, which was a computer store called Bike Shop. Once they did that, they had money left over from their profits to make some more Apple I's and start to sell those. That's where we left it. Eventually, Apple would need to become a real business. Eventually, they would need to ship a real product, not sort of pre-assembled circuit board. That product was this new computer Steve Wozniak had been working on. It would ultimately be known as the Apple II. And we will get to that computer in this series. And we will get to the start of a real business of Apple computer. First, we need to take a few steps back because I need to take you back to late summer of 1976, where the Apple I is finally out there, and it's kind of a failure. It's not a technical failure necessarily. Everybody agrees it was really deep engineering on the part of Steve Wozniak. The issue was nobody was really buying it. The truth is, even though the Apple I was a major step forward in terms of the hobbyist computer world, you didn't have to buy the chips and install them yourselves, right? That was part of what they were doing. It was still a do-it-yourselfers device. What Steve Jobs delivered in our last go around with this to the Bike Shop, and what Apple advertised in computer magazines and took to the Homebrew Computer Club, you still need to attach a keyboard and a display and talking about screen into what you put in a case. It was not a consumer product. It was just a better hobbyist product. It was a better sort of hobbyist product. What it was not was a computer for the masses. This is not what they were doing. And as a result, the volumes of what Apple was selling were not even close to some early PCs like the Altair, which was again a lot less friendly, but that didn't matter. Apple was a very, very niche player.
So do we have a sense for computers that were delivered to the Bike Shop? Were they sold? Do we get a sense that these were successful enough for them?
I do. I think that the Bike Shop was catering to a hobbyist market who appreciated the fact that they were completely assembled. Even though there's that famous line about having the Bike Shop wanted keyboards and displays, which is what you're getting. That's not something we're really doing. But that's also a clue. Like I have to imagine that was also in Steve Jobs' mind. What people really want, we really should get this whole product. This is the moment. Right? This is the moment that Apple I is kind of like losing steam or has lost steam. Apple was created to make the Apple I. Really, that was it. So does Apple go down one path to become a forgotten hobby project launched by a couple kids from the valley? You should know better. We're just turning to this. This is the moment.
So when I've been thinking about this and reflecting on the last episode, and even you saying right now this idea that the Apple I is kind of a failure, I guess the assumption is at this point that nobody would have assumed that Apple would have been able to be a company to be taken seriously at this point. Because I would guess there are many small teams in the valley trying to do something in this space at this time. And that while the Apple I is interesting, it isn't an obvious path that we get to where we are today.
Yes, including one of the prime movers in the Homebrew Computer Club we'll be hearing from soon, who
who has started his own computer company. So there are a lot of computer companies out there. There's nothing. Most notable thing about Apple at this point is that they would become Apple again. This is going to come back again, like in the series, which is a couple of kids and their friends making technology things, and one of the kids turns around. It's not impressive. We are only talking about this because of who they became, right? Not because of what they were doing
doing at this exact point was really uncomfortable.
Yeah, well, it's very formative for where they go, and they're doing things technically that are going to be the reason they lift off. Right, but they're not quite there yet. The combination of alchemy between Steve Jobs and Steve Wozniak is going to launch them on that path. But at this moment, I guess what I can say is there's a path here where Apple just ends right now. That's like, well, we had fun and we sold those things and made a little bit of money, but that's not what happened. So part of this is the creative drive. We often think so linearly about this. Like, well, they made Apple 1 and sold the Apple 1, and then there's this idea like they did that for a while and then they stopped and so I guess what comes next? Apple 2, I guess let's do that. That's not what happened. Steve Wozniak just the Apple 1, setting off everything we talked about in our last episode. He's not saying still. He knows all the limitations of the Apple 1 and he wants to make his next computer. So he's already working on what will become the Apple 2. He has been counting all the ways that he can make a better computer than that first computer design. That would be the basis of a new product from Apple. The problem is they're going to need right. They're going to need money because they already had this issue with the Apple 1 to get enough money to make them and a 30-day net technology supplier in order to get it to work. All of that. And keep in mind that they're only at this far because Steve Jobs sold his van and Steve Wozniak sold his HP calculator. And even then they had to use that 30-day credit policy from their supplier. So they don't have money. They don't have money. So what are they going to do? To build a real consumer product instead of just a hobbyist gadget, they're going to need serious investment and business plan and probably a lot more discipline than you might expect from a couple of 20-something friends who are selling computers. Or alternatively, you sell a company and provide technology for a more established company with a ready-made new computer. You do that. You sell it. Which is right. And they failed to do that. So in our last set we talked about Mike Markle, who's 34. He seems like a wise old man, right? Compared to Jobs and Wozniak, he's a wise old man. He's only 34. He made enough money at a couple pretty tech companies to retire. Like best friends, Silicon Valley, he's advising other upcoming industry types. And the two Steves, Jobs and Wozniak, are people he's going to help. I want to be clear. The reason that Mike Markle comes into the scene and helps make Apple what it is going to be is because Steve Jobs is trying to sell Apple to anyone who might buy it. This is the other path. We can make a computer. Surely a large company with lots of money will give us money, take our technology, and then help us build the next personal computer. That's the big idea that Steve Jobs has. I think it's a little Apple thing we did. It's hobby. So that's
So Jobs is going around the valley. He's trying to sell Apple to the highest, middle, lowest bidder, I guess. And that's how Markle comes into the picture when this thing comes on the table.
it all will lead to Mike Markle, but just putting in context, Mike Markle was like, oh, and then he invested in Apple and got a credit line, and then everything worked out. And the truth is, it only happened because they were trying to just sell it, and it didn't work. So they had to do Apple instead.
I didn't know about that. I didn't know because I guess it's not in the it's in the condensed history so that people tell now that Apple was essentially trying to solve parts.
One of the things we're trying to do with this show is tell these stories, and I hope that we're unflattening some of the history because there is a simple flat history of Apple that skips over a lot of these twists and turns that we're trying to get across here that are part of the actual story. As much as any history is much more complicated and messy than this version that you might have heard, and this is definitely an example of that. Almost like literally, Steve Jobs got his way, they would have sold out Apple to somebody and they wouldn't have to worry about it ever again. That didn't happen.
Well, that feels like the perfect time as any for us to take a break, and then when we come back we can talk about the nemesis of selling Apple to this. Hello everybody, I hope you're enjoying this first preview episode of Designing California. If you're enjoying this, you should go back to the Kickstarter campaign of Design.fm. Thank you so much if you have. So many of you have, in fact. We're now going to be doing 50 episodes of this show for its first year. Essentially, Designing California will be a weekly podcast when it launches later on this year. So thank you so much to all of you that have. We have been blown away by the support. It really means a lot to us. We're so excited that we're going to be able to tell you these stories over the next year.
But there's more to do. If you haven't back yet, or if you want to look at some of the higher level pledge levels where we got cool stuff coming, you can still adjust your pledge. We have stretch goals that we're working toward, including, and some of these have been announced, some of these will be announced as we go, but like including doing an interview series where I talk to people who have either written about Apple or who have worked at Apple about some aspect of history that they were involved with. We throw those in on the pile as well. And there will be more beyond that. Just stay tuned to the Kickstarter page and the Kickstarter updates as we move along because we got a whole month because this campaign ends July 1st in the morning Pacific time. So a lot of time left for us to hopefully reach and then add new stretch goals.
We thought we would have more time to arrange a lot of these things, but your support has really blown us away. We couldn't be happier. As we said in Upgrade, Jason and I have been so excited about this project, and we really wanted this Kickstarter fund so we can make the show for you because we want to make it because we enjoy it and we know you're going to love it. We have so much great stuff planned, and if you just go to design.fm, you can read more. We're going to be updating the campaign throughout the whole month. We're going to be popping in during one of these preview episodes, going to give you updates about where we are and things we're planning on. There's so much left to share throughout the campaign, so please go check it out. Design.fm. Right, so welcome back, Jason. Can you fill me in who was on the table to try and buy this little Apple computer company?
Well, they're the giants of Silicon Valley, of course. So when we talked about this on the 50th anniversary of Apple, I mentioned that this all started with Steve Wozniak saying, well, I work at Hewlett Packard, so I should probably give them the opportunity to buy the Apple 1 design before I go and make a company on my own. And every division of Hewlett Packard turned me down. So I'm not going to be. Steve Jobs had been working at Atari, the video game company, which for people who don't know was the name of video games. They did Pong, they were the be all and all of Breakout. This was the earliest video game era, and Atari was one of the first huge successes in Silicon Valley. And since he worked there, Jobs, he pitched them on buying Apple. He met a meeting with the president of Atari, who is not the person that he'd been working with when he worked. And this guy named Joe Keenan, and he is a much more conservative business guy than the people Jobs had been working with at Atari. And okay, this is what I was referencing before. And while it is a unfair flattening of the history, if you will, to say that Silicon Valley was a bunch of smelly hippies, this is an era where Steve Jobs didn't want to bathe, only ate fruit, and frequently walked around barefoot.
It's not speaking for all Silicon Valley residents, but specifically for Jobs.
Joe Keenan, president of Atari, could not stand him, and he said, not only are we not going to buy this thing, get off my desk. Imagine.
I feel like, obviously this is a different time. It was a time that I did not occupy. But I struggle to be able to reconcile a person who is trying to either A, start a company, or B, sell a company, which is a very capitalistic endeavor with a success-driven end goal, but then acts in this way. Like, if you have a personal decision only fruit and not pay fine, but then you go into these rooms with graffiti. That's like, I feel like I can't get into the mind of the man who is doing this. It's very peculiar.
The more I got into Steve Jobs for this project, the more I reminded what an odd person he was throughout his life. And he grew a lot. There was a lot of personal pressure. In this era, it is just kind of like, I don't know. I mean, he's kind of wild. I mean, he grew up in the Valley, to be fair, in the 60s and 70s, but he doesn't know what he's doing. I mean, that's really it. He clearly is so enamored with what they're doing and what they have and who he is that he thinks that it's fine. And he's running into people who are more establishment types, right? And there is a hippies and squares dynamic going on here a little bit. And eventually, Steve Jobs will get with the program and put on a suit and stuff. But this is not that Steve Jobs. This is summer of 1976 Steve Jobs. And he's putting Steve up. I hope he was wearing shoes when he put Steve up on the desk.
I'm assuming he wasn't. I'm assuming he wasn't. Who knows, right? We can't know.
Norm Bushnell, who was the CEO of Atari at the time, because Keenan was the president. Norm Bushnell had worked with Steve Jobs. And what he said, I believe, to David Kogan, his Apple first 50 years for Excel. Bushnell said he asked me if I would put $50,000 in and he would give me a third of the company. I was so smart. I said no. It's kind of fun to think about that when I'm not crying. In hindsight, this is a giant mistake, right? But at the time, do you blame any of these people saying I'm not going to give these kids money?
Even if Jobs was more regular, it's still a flyer.
It's a tough sell,
Yeah.
but he's not putting his best dirty barefoot forward. Jobs also pitched a bunch of venture capital firms. So where VC existed in the 70s, folks. Sale passed. What next? Steve Jobs, who will buy this Apple computer from me? He heard that there was a company that was big in electronic calculators. So for computers, they were calculators. So people were using electronics to build calculators or adding machines. Sometimes they were called, which I think
They never subtracted. They only added.
backwards to get the subtraction. It was Commodore Business Machines, the name of the calculator. He heard they were just getting a personal computer game, and they had an office in Silicon Valley in Santa Clara. So there was a possibility here. Let me stop you for a moment now and tell you about Commodore Business Machines, a company that people now know they know it all as the makers of Commodore 64. Right? That was their hit computer product in the 80s. There are a lot of our friends who are children of the C64 and loved it and had it and played games on it. And that was Commodore to them. This is before that. Commodore is a little shady. I'm going to say maybe a lot shady.
I'm really excited about this part.
So Michael Malone wrote a book called Living the Loop that I think is a great book about Apple. He refers to Commodore as registered in the Bahamas, incorporated in Canada, listed headquarters in Santa Clara. At times, computer ran out of Norristown, Pennsylvania.
This is just normal stuff that you do when you have a regular business on the upper. It's just regular smooth stuff.
Yeah, well, because it's so normal, you will not be surprised by the other totally normal stuff that happened at Commodore. Like a decade earlier, its chairman died under suspicious circumstances while under investigation for defrauding investors. But it had become a major player in adding machines and calculators, led by their CEO, a person who has the most main character energy of maybe anybody ever, a guy named Jack Tramiel. Jack Tramiel, Polish, he was a survivor of Auschwitz. After being rescued from a Nazi labor camp, he immigrated to the US. He learned how to repair office equipment, including typewriters, and started a business.
American dream, folks.
He was post-war America. He wanted to connect to the military. He couldn't get the names admiral or general, so the company became Commodore. Portable. USA. I mean, the Navy needs typewriters too. I guess. I mean, the idea is like everybody's very, so many people are veterans of World War II. And everyone wanted to kind of like steal a little bit of that valor maybe, and admiral general takes up Commodore was. His first big deal, and I'm not making this up, was importing typewriter parts from Czechoslovakia to Canada to avoid import issues. It's a tariff thing called the Cold War because of course Czechoslovakia was part of the Warsaw Pact, was part of the Russian sphere of influence, the Soviet sphere of influence. The US didn't want you importing your Czechoslovakian typewriter parts. So Jack Tramiel used Canada as a way station. He would assemble his typewriters from the parts in Canada, and then the Canadian assembled typewriters, nobody mentioned Czechoslovakia, would be resold throughout North America. So that's how he built Commodore, and then he later pivoted to the adding machines and electronic calculators. This guy, if you've not already detected it, was a character. He was bald, he was gruff, he was impatient with employees. He was famous for withholding payments to suppliers. And generally, throughout all the references I can find to him, they're fine, just fine. He would sometimes shut down all conversations. This was a big move. He would shut down all conversations with people he felt considered themselves superior to him because of their educational backgrounds. He was a worker from Poland who got out of the labor camp, got to the US, built himself up by his bootstraps. Right? People who felt all fancy to him. He would declare he also went to university. He went to the University of Auschwitz.
Oh my gosh. Okay. And then everybody leaves. I don't know what you're supposed to say to that.
I don't. I mean, yeah. What can you say?
I mean, it's really like using it. It worked every single time.
You've
for conversation starters, this was a conversation starter. 100% success rate. I went to the University of Auschwitz. Man, Jack everybody. So, another feature of Commerce products, apparently, calculators in particular, was that they were actually well designed, but then cheaply built. And that allowed him to sell at low prices. At some point, Jamil was frustrated by his chip partners, and he ended up buying MLS Technologies. These are the people who made the 6502 chip, which chip inspired Woz to make his first personal computer circuit boards. And it's very much, honestly, very much an Apple kind of move, which is, we don't like how this chip business is going, we're going to buy the chip, and then we're going to own them, and we all chip we want, I guess. Along with MLS Technologies came the guy who created the 6502, was a guy named Chuck Peddle, and he convinced Jamil that Commodore could excel at personal computers. And he knew, Chuck Peddle knew where they could get a good computer design on the cheap. Namely, they had two guys who would sell their fan calculator and make a computer in a garage. Like picking, strike for the taking. We can swoop in there, we can duck into that garage, write a check, get a computer, and we're good. And so this is what they tried. Sometime in the early fall of 1976, Chuck Peddle and another Commodore executive who was not Jack Jamil show up at the garage and ask Steve Jobs to suggest a purchase price. And remember, Steve Jobs wants to sell. Steve Wozniak describes the scene in Steve Wozniak's and Steve Jobs' biography as we opened Steve's garage to the sunlight, and he came in wearing a suit and a cowboy hat. This is Commodore executives, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, Steve Jobs executives. You
have upfront $1,000 to stop Commodore, and you have to guarantee that both of us have full-time jobs at $36,000 a year, which is a lot better.
So today that's about $500,000 for the company and jobs that would pay Steve $200,000 a year each. So they want to sell.
It's a big request. This is one of Steve Jobs moments, right? Because that guy chutzpah, you gotta say, he's asking for the moon. He thinks what Apple has, which is Wozniak's design, is really valuable. So he's gonna ask for more money than either of them have ever seen in their lives. Steve Wozniak, meanwhile, is watching and he can't believe it. What are you doing? This is a ridiculous amount. You were asking for everything. I think Woz would have been happy to get like a pat on the back and a stick number. His design, right? He's not thinking about it like Jobs. It's just so Jobs. He's like, he sees the picture, which is that the Wozniak's design is revolutionary, but also he sees a company that they a lot of money, maybe they'll pay us a lot of money for it. So company people are like, okay, we'll take your offer and we'll consider it. Steve Jobs, meanwhile, is researching who Commodore is.
Oh wow, so this is all like I've never met these people before. I don't know who they are. We want to work with your company forever.
But like, I need to know if this is gonna happen. I need to know who I'm getting business with. He starts researching, and you know, they were sort of shady. Jobs calls everyone he knows anything about Commodore, and the news is bad. The products are bad. Again, good designs, but cheaply built, but failure. People who worked at Commodore hated it. Commodore often didn't pay its bills, which is a red flag if you're trying to get money from them. And what Steve Jobs later said about it was, the more I looked at Commodore, the sleazier they were. I couldn't find one person who made a deal with them was happy. Everyone felt they had been cheated. So Steve Jobs gets on the phone and calls Commodore and says, no, we're not interested.
I guess that's interesting because he's made the offer and they've gone away to think about it. Jobs has had enough time to do some research, and Commodore still hasn't said yes or no, which means that they were maybe considering it. Maybe.
No, they weren't. Well, it's still going on. Jack Tramiel, who's the CEO, was like, no. The Commodore exec who had been interested said they thought it was ridiculous to acquire two guys working out of a garage, which fair, despite the best efforts of Chuck Peddle and his cowboy hat. But instead, Commodore did what it always did, which it rushed out a cheaper, less impressive computer 9 months later called the Commodore PET. And what was said about this whole thing was the PET kind of sickened me. So he said that they made a really crappy product by doing it so quick. They could have had Apple. So
the PET, is that more in line with what they were building to become the Apple II?
So first of all, Commodore PET is the first computer I ever used. It was impressive in the sense that it had the integrated keyboard and display. Right, something Apple wouldn't do until they said that, by the way. The integrated display was nothing that the Apple II ever had. In fact, I do wonder if that aspect of the PET inspired Steve Jobs a little bit in terms of the Mac, the idea that it was an all-in-one the way the Apple II wasn't. But Woz is not wrong. PET didn't have color. It didn't really have graphics. It had like this extra set of characters in its character set that were like shapes and lines and stuff. So you could like build graphics with it. But it was like if you wanted to do a box, you had to do like right angle, top line, right angle the other way, and then the next line you had to do like vertical line, bunch of spaces, vertical line. You would like draw graphics out of these little teeny tiny parts like Lego almost. It was not graphics. It was not graphics. You could fake it, but it was terrible. It was like ASCII art kind of with some extra characters. Eventually Commodore did get there. They shipped the 20 on Commodore 64. Neither had integrated display. Both of them had CD sets basically. But they had it all with the Apple II, and that's I think what Steve Wozniak laments about this whole situation is that Commodore had this right in front of them. The question, and this is super important for where we go next in the story, is Steve Jobs didn't wait to be told no by Commodore. Steve Jobs made an enormous request of Commodore that Steve Wozniak thought was beyond the pale. And then Steve Jobs said, forget about it. We're not interested. All while Woz looks along the gaps, and this is going to become a major issue in the relationship between the two Steves.
Well, at this point, clearly Jobs still believes in what they're attempting to do because it seems like he would prefer to continue going it alone and struggling than to kind of just throw it all in for the only company that's interested in buying them potentially.
I think something must have changed in Steve Jobs' estimation of their potential at this point because he could have made a lower offer, lower request to Commodore out of the gate, and he didn't. And he felt confident in walking away before they could tell him no. And that's something about how Steve Jobs feels about this. But keep in mind the dynamic here, which we will explore soon, which is Steve Wozniak is the engine that's creating the assets for this company. He's the creator of the computer they're going to make or sell. Steve Jobs is just like the front man, the hype man. So when he's asking for all that money, you know, he's making decisions for Steve Wozniak on his behalf essentially because now they're a partnership. Steve Wozniak, you know, is the one who's the motor driving this, and that dynamic is not comfortable. And the shenanigans of Commodore I think lead them down some darker paths.
Well, you mentioned that Steve Jobs is a hype man. There are places where a hype man is necessary and needed, and we're actually going to talk about one of those places on the next episode, which is a computer fair in Atlantic City.
Well, there was drama. There was drama in Atlantic City. We will discuss that in the next episode as well as the increasing difficulties between the young Steve Jobs and Steve Wozniak as they try to create a partnership that will become Apple Computer Incorporated.
The hardest thing to treat is a comorbidity between trauma, anorexia, and addiction. And these three things go together. This is the unholy triad of psychiatric illness. So when I take someone in my rehab and we remove substances from the equation, they can no longer use opioids or marijuana or cocaine or whatever to regulate their emotions. As the emotions rise, how do they gain control of them? They become more anorexic. Literally, some of the hardest patients to treat when I work in rehabs have been people with comorbid addictions and substance use disorders. Because if you kind of think about it, how do they deal with these feelings of loathsomeness, right? How do they suppress their appetite? Okay, I have low energy, I feel fatigued, I'm irritable, I feel hungry, I hate feeling hungry, let me use cocaine. So it almost becomes a game of whack-a-mole. Where as I start treating the trauma, their emotional experience rises to the surface. Now they're grappling with trauma, substance use increases, eating disorders increase. So it becomes a game of whack-a-mole where progress in one dimension makes it hard to progress in other dimensions. So what is the most common thing that is rampant in eating disorder treatment centers? Substance use, right? So it's really, really difficult.
The wait is over. The steam machine is here, and I'm here to answer your questions. Questions like, is this worth over $1,000? Should this be my first gaming PC? What's the PC that's hooked up to my TV? And pay me. Why did you bring your steam machine to a con? Well, they're working on getting home to a loud voice. Also, maybe my own business. I might be the exact target audience for the steam machine. I prefer games from my couch, but I tend to play games on PC much more than I do on console. At the same time, I didn't grow up with a gaming PC, so I'm not especially skilled at things like building, maintaining, or general tinkering with PC hardware. For years, I run my PC games via desktop or laptop PC that's connected directly to my TV via HDMI. Sometimes it works great, sometimes the HDMI handshake issue causes audio break, or the video stops displaying my shot. My laptop did, even though it went before. Being everything is working as intended, I'm dealing with Bluetooth keyboards and mice on my couch, plus the USB dongle for the steam controller. If I want to use that, it's not exactly an ideal setup. I remember Jan Cho and I went to Valve HQ Sierra, actually hardware, the steam controller, steam frame, and steam machine. While I was very interested in all three devices, the machine was the one that I was personally most excited. Well, it's arrived, and I'm looking to keep simplifying my entire PC gaming experience on the couch. I've been a huge Steam Deck fan for years, thanks to how easy it is to play PC games on the go. Now the steam machine can give me that same streamlined experience on the big screen. Now, keep in mind, a big part of the reason I think I am the target audience is because I'm not particularly adept at optimizing PC games. Go through the charts, in-depth frame rate analysis, I want to know how many kilobits the steam machine burns per minute. Sure, there are plenty of other options for you on YouTube. I'm just going to explain my early experience with the steam machine. As a dude that wants to play PC games with a massive become a little bit. This is a big part of the steam machine. So let's talk about the setup process. Now, it's going to be the 2 terabyte bundle, steam machine, a steam controller with a dongle, 2 extra faceplates, an HDMI cable, and a power cable. If you're getting the 512 GB or 2 terabyte base model, it's as simple as the console and the table. Size-wise, it's a bit bigger than the GameCube and significantly heavy. It's as easy, if not easier, than any console I've ever owned. It's a power cable and an HDMI cable. Hard to wrap. Windows, the startup process is an absolute breeze. So the basics like select your time zone and your Wi-Fi info, and you're off the race. So you got steam controller, you'll just plug it in during initial setup, and then you can just use the dongle for charging. What we need to connect to the console is that's all in the box itself. It was an immediate relief to not have to set up Windows and OneDrive and Microsoft account to deal with everything that comes with that. In terms of time from unboxing to downloading games, it doesn't get much better than it did with Steam. Within a few minutes, you're looking at the same UI from Steam Deck. I've ever used Steam big picture mode and game PC, you know, I really let it until. So I want to start off by testing modern graphics games, so I downloaded 007 first. I initially played it on my Razer Blade 18 with a 4090 laptop GPU. It ran great at max settings. At the same time, 4K resolution. The steam machine ran for like between about 30 and 45 frames per second. However, I was able to keep the over settings and keep closer to 50 to 60 frames per second when I bumped it down to 4040p. Across the board, I was able to get most games to run around 60 frames per second. I was willing to make that resolution trade-off. Space Marine 2 and Cyberpunk 2077 both ran great at over settings at 1440p, despite chugging a bit at 4K. Some games were able to stay close to 60 even at 4K. Resident Evil ran tremendously well at max settings at 4K. As it gradually clanked the latter ran closer to 30 frames per second on the Steam Deck OLED. So if you want to start, for example, saw the comparative power of the steam machine. Running games at 1440p is the one trade-off to get the best frame rate possible on the steam machine. I also want to caution that turning on features like ray tracing can absolutely tank the performance. Cyberpunk struggled to maintain a solid frame rate at all but the lowest ray tracing level. Turning on odd settings like hair strands and requiem can similarly create a frame rate. Knowing that as of this recording, the steam machine hasn't launched yet. I'm not getting emails from Valve about incoming updates that increase ray tracing performance. So some of these issues will likely improve over time as the steam machine is updated. At one point I booted up Sekiro and was surprised to see the frame rate hover around 30 to 45 despite being a 7-year-old game. That's why I realized I had the game recording option turned on. And I toggled it off to see the impact of performance. I immediately saw Sekiro jump from 30 to 45 frames per second to around 45 to 60 frames per second. You can select whether game recording is enabled on a game-by-game basis, so I was just turning off if specific games were important. Ultimately, when it comes to graphically demanding modern games, in a lot of cases you're going to have to choose between playing at 4K with inconsistent frame rates and medium graphics or 1440p at 60 frames per second and high graphics settings. I tested a large variety of titles from recently listed to old favorites. Same place mouse and keyboard based games from the couch and found that Steam controller worked great. If you're emulating older titles, you know that Steam Deck can be turned into a retro showcase very easy. Considering the obvious similarities between devices, I followed the exact same video for Steam Deck on the Steam machine as I did on my Steam Deck cutout for game portable. Sure enough, it worked perfectly. I just copied over the same ROM folder from my Steam Deck micro SD card to my new Steam machine. Before I knew I had an all-in-one retro game station ready to go. Of course, playing retro games on your TV while connected to a PC is nothing new. But the streamlined nature of the New Deck and the Steam machine UI makes it so easy to take a game and play without fiddling around with anything in Windows. Talk about how easy the Steam machine makes to play PC games from the couch. Also, just looks great on shelf. It's a great size. I feel like you just got a Xbox Series X and a half. Also, the 2 terabyte bundle which comes with 2 additional faceplates. Super easy to swap out and magnetize together really well, so it should be easy to store a collection of them without taking up too much space. Considering they attach with just force magnets, I have to imagine that we will see plenty of Etsy and eBay stores offering custom faceplates very soon. So if I like for a nice touch, although you want to turn them off or shut down the device at night, you don't want your room to be awash in a blue glow like it's 2008, then here we have some urgent virtual console updates. You can all three individual LED lighting customized, and it doubles as a progress bar when you're downloading games. Overall, I'm very positive on the Steam machine, but obviously something that has to go into heavy consideration is cost. We don't have any way of knowing what the initial price target was for this, but a variety of circumstances led to an undeniably hefty price tag. The cheapest entry point is the base 512 GB console to run you $1,049 US. Do you want to bundle with the controller? That'll bump you up to $1,128. Do you want more storage? You're ready to pay on $1,349 for the terabyte version. And
bundle with the 2 TB console, the Steam controller, and the 2 face will set you back $1,488. That's a lot. I'm 42, and in my lifetime, most consoles launched between about $200 and $600. Price tag for PS3 was universally mocked for being recent. Now we've got inflation, war, terrorist data centers, and plenty more to blame for a console-like experience launching at over $1,000 for the base model. I think the Steam machine is excellent, but it's absolutely not going to be for everyone. At its current price, this device for people that fit into this Venn diagram of wants to easily play PC games on the couch and has a lot of disposable income. I know plenty of people that are lifetime console gamers that love to get into the Steam and PC gaming ecosystem, but it would be a very hard sell to tell them to drop
Disposable
I would have Death Stranding 2 on 5 different devices. It took 2 seconds to make it run smoothly. But instead of telling you which device to on, I'm just going to display the cost. I don't know how much money you're lying around, so you can take a look at the comparison and decide for yourself if the leaps in performance are worth the cost associated with it. Just in case you're curious, here's footage again with the device in perspective. In 2060, you want to play modern games, you have the wonderful options of either paying a lot or paying way too much. You have to decide for yourself how much you weigh things like convenience, portability, and power versus decisions. For me, I honestly believe the Steam machine will become my most played device. I think it'll be perfect for 90% of the games I play, from retro favorites to many of today's success. Every once in a while, there will be games that make you break out the 4090 laptop or sit down at the 5080 desktop. Make sure I'm playing them with the best performance possible. But the convenience and ease of use of the Steam machine will likely win more often than not. Whether or not Steam machine for you comes down to a couple of key things. Your gaming priorities and your disposable income. This is a great device, but it is undeniably expensive. Couch gaming and easy access to PC games is a priority for you, and you're willing to pay for it. I think the Steam machine is a no-brainer. It's very effective. Gaming is really high cost for you. You still have to make that once. Those caveats don't scare you off, and you know the Steam machine is excellent if gamers later themselves.
Facebook is now recording the desktops. They have thousands of people curated beautiful coding challenges to make the greatest coding robot of all time. They're trying to figure out a way to replace employees. All these employees work hard. But how do the engineers feel about this? Well, the engineers select for you to have no choice to join or leave the company. That's right. So if you were an engineer, they say, hey, by the way, you're on the new program. And if you say, I want to be on the new program, I leave the company. Idiots. Let some members of the applied AI describe themselves as draftees. Yes, this is their I actually can't even say that with a straight face. It's so ridiculous. This, of course, led to one voice saying it's literally the gulag. I do it. That does sound awful. It sounds like some kind of fulfilling job where you're just simply trying to develop whatever the coding challenge is that you have to develop, but to describe it as a gulag.
Ladies and gentlemen, it is official. The hardware price apocalypse is upon us. The Steam machine is absolutely dead on arrival. I'm going to show you the prices. They've just announced them. On one part, I understand why. We all know why. The AI boom, the data center build out has driven the prices of the key components, and NAND storage, flash, and memory, the DRAM, everything. GPUs, CPUs, literally everything involved in production hardware is massively expensive. The prices have gone crazy. It seems bonkers to me. That was sitting here looking at this. Now TLDR is basically $1,049 for a 512 gig download only console. That's like what, 2 AAA games, and that's it. Okay, consoles, video games, whatever. But the key here, it doesn't even have a controller. It's literally just a console. That is completely bonkers. It's $879 great pounds. Obviously, the headline figure is over $1,000. Now I thought it was going to be maybe $800, and even back then that was expensive. No, this isn't as powerful as PS5. PS5 is more powerful than this. But there is a version, right? So you can get the 2 TB Steam machine with the Steam controller. Obviously, the bundle here for $512 $1,028. The controller is slightly cheaper if you bought it on home, but it's still wildly expensive. But this is the one you want. You want the 2 TB machine. This is $1,500. It's $1,428. I go for FaceTime. This is $1,428. What the shit? This is. I mean, I know people like to buy Steam hardware and buy and resell it. I think anyone's even going to buy this. It's not surprising. Now, there's one other thing
I bought the same period for my laptop 10 years ago.
This has been a massive worry of mine for a while. We can't be in a situation where gaming becomes pastime for people who've got cash to burn. The economy shit as it is. It's very difficult for basic things. Prices of food get more expensive. We're now seeing because the data center build out. I think it is easy to attribute cost of this hardware, the rising cost of this hardware, direct data center build out. What generally happens, what is happening, there's no generally about this, especially for NAND storage and DRAM manufacturers. They are being bought out of production. They haven't even made years in advance, so they're not even going to be able to produce stuff at cheaper rates. They've already agreed to produce it at more expensive rates. Any of the modules that are on the market are just accordingly more expensive. Of course, if you're a major manufacturer, you're buying tons of stuff. Now, Valve isn't a major hardware manufacturer, more than a niche manufacturer, but still they're going to be placing large orders. And when you place a large order, and the cost of the best, I guess it's not really an equivalent example. But what I want to say is in my head, it's not like it's Apple. Apple said around the price of all their devices. It's simply because the price of hardware is massive expensive. AI is Apple doing it. The biggest buyers of flash storage, NAND storage, solid state storage, DRAM, all that stuff. They're doing it. Obviously, they don't have the buying power to absorb this. That's not because they're so much smaller manufacturer. Valve, they just get shit out of them. And then when they're trying, it's not trying to launch this. It's like a low bar. I'm calling it mid-range mini PC, which sounds great. Build console into Steam OS. It's underneath your TV. You can play all your Steam games on it within reason. Some higher-end games will be a little bit more performance. It sounds like a good time. If it's like, I mean, these prices may go up, but if it's like $700, it's just $69. Oh my god, it might have been that you didn't have the AI data center built out. Unfortunately, so when we were saying maybe $800, it's actually not. It's $1,000 for cheaper. It's $500 for a download console. So I can ask questions. Steam machine costs $1,400. That's too much. I believe it. Absolutely believe it. If you want to play Steam machine, fine here. It starts at $1,400 for $500 version. If that price is still in your budget, you can reserve it now on Steam. And again, it's the issue. Like the PS5 Pro doesn't cost, that's $800. Well, I mean, maybe it will start costing some more. But again, you think about next generation console, they come out, Sony, Microsoft going to price those at $1,000 plus, or they'll be under $1,000. And also, I don't know why, if Valve get the price down, I'm not saying this is better, but if Valve get the price down to $400, can they go down to $999? Still be terrible. Look at that, I guess. I don't know. I've got a problem with this. The price increase is crazy. But what these new consoles are costing? I feel like this is going to come out. It is out now. It's just the offer is not competitive. It's kind of money. You virtually just build your own PC again. That's why they're expensive. So I don't even know. Like, it's just so massively depressing. Actually depressing. They say the $1,499 price. You get a 512 version of the mini gaming PC without Steam controller. If you do want Steam controller, it's bundled for $1,528, which means you get $79.99. So that's a bit of a saving. It's horrendous. Right, actually horrendous. You know, this also question we say, oh, Valve was built Steam, but it costs somewhere between $700 and $800. I mean, I thought it cost $800, but on video, you got $1,000 price tag. Like, surely it went to $1,000. There was rumors at the time that it made $600,000. That was from one of the resellers in Asia, I think, which sometimes is fairly accurate. I guess the problem with this is how much is the Steam frame going to cost? Like, I kind of want one of those, but not if it's going to be like ridiculously expensive. As VR is, it's super niche. It's just mental. What do you guys think? This is actually, the more I read this, the more it's getting bonkers. Gaming is getting absolutely bonkers. The more I look at my PC and I pray, you know, I'm looking at $490 in this. If that dies, I'm going to be crying, right? I'm going to be on the floor crying. Oh dear, it's like you only need hardware to fail. That's like, that's crazy. You know, maybe this is what now's the time to build PC. Months ago, like 3 months ago, now it's even worse. It's not just PCs, everything. It's all consumer electronics getting hammered by this insatiable demand from AI hyperscale AI data center build. Anyway, Steam, especially weighing against PS5 or Xbox Series X, which is more affordable. You're weighing against PS5, you're looking at PS5. Well, Steam Machine is quite a bit more expensive than the mainstream gaming console. It's still a gaming PC, and in that world, Steam Machine price tag isn't the same, especially because it's $9 years old. Mini gaming PC is kind of horsepower, 100 more than gaming. So I suppose you can see that final length mini PC. Maybe taking that context, but my thing with this is it's not a mini, it's not a very difficult to use a mini PC. It's literally a Steam Deck with more horsepower that puts into TV. That's basically what it's like. I know it's PC, I know you can run wherever you want. It is in that arena to sit down on your couch, play games on your TV, which is a game console and not a PC. So I don't think it's fair. I don't think there's a world where people go and buy this and use it as like a desktop gaming PC. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, guys, I don't think that's ever the arena to decide going to straight up console replacement. I don't think it's fair. This kind of price comparison, it's not. It's a different prospect. Yeah, it's just saying, hey, go and buy is randomized lottery. So all you guys know about this. We've been waiting for a while, and I think we all expect it to be very expensive. There's no way around it. Like, the components are made only by certain companies in the world, and they're all absolutely jam-packed with all the companies that are paying tens of billions for stuff that's even produced. You know, like, before that Crucial brand touched about Micron because that was their super brand of DRAM. But they got rid of it. There was no need to have it. It was a change production line to completely reform it, make high bandwidth memory, that's required for AI accelerators, and that's a lot more money. So let's get rid of that consumer. There are other companies out there, Chinese companies out there producing brand, and you know, maybe prices will come down in time. But this, I'm afraid, is going to be a problem with hardware. Every single conceivable, version of hardware, whether it's mobile phone, whether it's game console, whether it's any sort of PC hardware, is slightly more expensive than it was a year ago, and it's just going to get more and more expensive. If you really drill down and look at some of those projections, I honestly do not. I think you do that. If you look at this, if you look at what these companies saying about demand, they're saying through 2029, maybe 2030, these prices are still going to stay. Now that's in current demand, that's for production. Things might change, things like AI will first thing might dramatically and drastically together. The price of RAM, but that also drop the entire economy. I don't think that would be fantastic. Right, I'll leave it there, guys. Lots to discuss here on unpacking. I think this is shocking. I think Steam screwed over. I think Valve didn't have this crazy ball that ran it because some about 2 years ago. It would have been fantastic. It's much like Steam Deck I bought, the original OG Steam Deck, fantastic deal. Now it's more expensive, or at least I can go level more expensive. Make money more, correct me if I'm wrong. But it's mental to be in a world where hardware gets more expensive, but doesn't end. You know, from a world where every like 18 months or so, you've got faster graphics, competitive pricing compared to the previous generation. So I suppose you got like the 30 series cards, I think, when the game consoles, right? You know, with the increasing price for PlayStation and Xbox, so why they increase the price of hardware hasn't changed, just make it more expensive, because components more expensive, because of wider industry demand. Anyway, it's just try maybe hardware doesn't break, it's supposed to be really expensive. So try and make hardware last at least the next couple of years, and then probably see a big drop hopefully in the cost of hardware. Probably wishful thinking. But anyway, thanks for enjoy this, and do like the subscribe to the channel, and I'll catch you all next video soon.
Welcome back to Slot Live. Today's slot, we've got more World Cup nonsense. As usual, people are continuing to lose money making bets. They think I say one man with $1 billion on Belgium to win against Iran, and they end up tying, so by $1 billion. Also, the Cape Verde goalkeeper who did really well against Spain ended up getting 15 million followers. Now has the same amount of followers as Tom Brady, all because he saved a few goals against Spain before the game against Spain. He had about 50,000. Also, speaking of getting millions of followers suddenly at the start of the World Cup, an Argentinian influencer known as Alcázar digged out the least known player in the World Cup, which turned out to be a defender from New Zealand known as Tim Payne. Well, because of this, he got 5.9 million followers, and because of all of the sudden attention and Pirelli will now be playing for Olympia, one of the biggest clubs in South America. Well, to get in on the Tim Payne hype, New Zealand played Egypt today. DoorDash was spamming the video complimenting Tim Payne, saying, "Let's go at T-Pain with the assist muscle." I can't believe Egypt has pyramids, New Zealand has T-Pain. The things brands will do review extra clip. Well, it turns out Tim Payne doesn't actually have a Twitter account, and they were tweeting at the rapper T-Pain, with T-Pain responding saying, "I literally don't play soccer," getting 118,000 likes, and also saying, "Are you all okay?" at DoorDash. Stop taking me in these soccer posts. So either in turn really missed up trying to get on the hype train, or they probably pretended to do this intentionally to get people where I am now. And if that's the case, they should probably give me a year rewatch. Some people have also started reviewing and rating the games as if it's a TV show. And of course, there's still more AI nonsense. This post saying Goku and Vegeta attendance for Japan versus Tunisia getting 3 million views and 120,000 likes. And again, should have been pretty obvious this was AI, but I guess people are stupid. Finally, the New Zealand team's nickname are the All Whites, and someone decided to complain about it, saying New Zealand World Cup means team nickname is the All Whites. I don't care why. This is violence with the sick colonial white supremacist and white nationalist type. Nobody tells person is engagement when they say I don't care why. Well, let me tell you why. One of the sports we're actually good at, our team name is the All Blacks because we're all black. And because of the iconic status, a lot of our sporting teams end up getting similar names. But the football team's name being All Whites because you never guess the team wears white due to the colour black and reserve referees. But yeah, if you don't want any more World Cup stuff about the random stupid stuff going on, no, I guess if you're not a fan of them, don't have as much for 4 years. So you're right. Thanks, Sloth and Bob.
Yeah, it's over. It's over. So whoever's committing suicide out there, I don't blame you at all. At all. At all. If you're not narcissistic enough to care about making yourself seen and make a ton of publicity about it, yep, the world is not for you. Sucks.
No vídeo de hoje eu vou revelar se autismo leve, como muitos chamam, existe de verdade ou se virou um diagnóstico só para conseguir benefícios. Tá rolando uma polêmica dizendo que o autismo nível 1 não deveria ser classificado como deficiência. E desde que a lei reconheceu todos os autistas como pessoas com deficiência, surgiram cotas, prioridade de filas, várias exclusivas, acesso ao BPC e os casos de autismo explodiram. Mas será que todos esses diagnósticos de autismo são legítimos? Como uma pessoa que trabalha, estuda, namora, tem amigos e parece funcional pode ser autista e deficiente? O autismo nível 1 é realmente um transtorno ou é só um rótulo, como dizem por aí, e que muita gente quer? Para descobrir e entender profundamente o autismo nível 1, a gente precisa entender a diferença entre o transtorno do espectro autista e simplesmente uma personalidade mais introvertida. Durante muito tempo, quando as pessoas pensavam em autismo, o único perfil vinha na cabeça. Uma criança que quase não fala, que evita contato visual, que emite sons fora de hora, ou que faz movimentos estranhos o tempo todo. Tanto que na década de 50, na primeira edição do Manual de Diagnóstico dos Transtornos Mentais, o DSM, o autismo foi classificado como um tipo de esquizofrenia. Aquela condição que as pessoas ouvem vozes e ficam com pensamento fora da realidade. Mas é claro que a ciência foi avançando, até entender na década de 80 e 90 que o autismo é um transtorno do neurodesenvolvimento. A ciência descobriu que por conta de alterações cerebrais que acontecem ainda na gestação, o autista se comporta e se comunica de forma diferente, fora do socialmente esperado. E que na verdade, aquele perfil de pessoa estranha, retraída, que quase não fala, é só um dos muitos perfis que pessoas autistas podem apresentar. A passos lentos. Foi só em 2013 que foi criado o termo transtorno do espectro autista para englobar todas as subcategorias. Hoje a ciência entende que cada autista vai ter uma combinação diferente de características e comportamentos divididas em dois grandes blocos. Dificuldades persistentes de comunicação e interação social. E 2 padrões restritos e repetitivos de comportamentos, interesses ou atividades. Eu fiz um vídeo explicando em detalhes toda a questão do diagnóstico do autismo. E esse espectro do transtorno do espectro autista varia de 1 a 3, de acordo com o nível de suporte. Ajuda que a pessoa precisa ter no dia a dia. No nível 1, a pessoa consegue estudar, trabalhar e se relacionar com alguma adaptação. No nível 2, o suporte já é bem mais necessário. E no nível 3, precisa de suporte constante para se comunicar e se cuidar. Porque a pessoa apresenta sérios prejuízos no comportamento e até no desenvolvimento intelectual. Antes, só o nível 3 e talvez o 2 seriam reconhecidos como autismo. E seguindo a tendência mundial, o Brasil passou a reconhecer o transtorno do espectro autista como uma deficiência, assim como as deficiências físicas, intelectuais, visuais e outras. Foi uma mudança na lei. Passou a entender que o autismo poderia sim gerar impedimentos de longo prazo que dificultariam a participação da pessoa na sociedade. E é exatamente aí que a discussão se entra. Porque quando a lei inclui todos os autistas na classificação de deficiência, apareceram autistas nível 1 supostamente funcionais, acessando benefícios. Benefícios que, na opinião de alguns críticos, deveriam ser só os autistas nível 2 ou 3, ou então exclusivos das outras deficiências mais visíveis. Será que o autismo nível 1 é realmente uma condição que precisa de suporte a condição de deficiência? Ou será que estamos falando de autismo, algo que no fundo é só uma personalidade diferente? Eu conheço algumas pessoas adultas que receberam um diagnóstico de autismo nível 1 e ficaram confusas, porque elas nunca acharam que tivessem um transtorno. Afinal, para elas, todas aquelas características, como preferir ficar sozinhas, poder dificuldade de mudança de plano, faziam parte da personalidade de quem elas eram. Mas existe uma diferença entre a personalidade, é um jeito de ser desenvolvido ao longo da vida, principalmente durante a infância e a adolescência. Quando o autismo é uma condição biológica, como o cérebro se organiza, que gera impacto na vida e na sociedade também. Sofrimento não é chamado de transtorno. Uma pessoa com personalidade invertida prefere menos estímulo social e grupos menores. A pessoa vai conversar, ela consegue entender nuances, linguagem corporal, regras sociais facilmente. Ela só prefere menos interação. Já uma pessoa autista tem uma dificuldade muito grande de processar sociais durante a conversa. Ler um livro, texto, linguagem corporal, as regras não escritas de interação, coisas que a maioria das pessoas sabe de forma intuitiva. Você sabe quando alguém tá baixo, tá olhando torto, não tá interessado no papo, você sente, mas o autista tem muita dificuldade de perceber isso. Quando ele precisa estar em interação, ele gasta muita energia mental, gera exaustão e impaciência, porque ele precisa processar ativamente esses sentidos, entender qual é a linguagem corporal da pessoa, certas pessoas olhando torto, certas pessoas pensando, para pessoas neurotípicas, isso é comum para o autista, é um desafio. Ou seja, o autista se afasta como consequência do seu funcionamento cerebral, não por escolha. Uma pessoa muito organizada gosta de rotina, mas se algo fugido do esperado, ela só organiza de novo. Isso é personalidade no autismo, uma mudança inesperada de plano, só gerar uma confusão mental, sobrecarga emocional, pensamento crise, a pessoa simplesmente se fecha e não consegue mais responder como antes. É chamado de shutdown, não é frescura. O mesmo vale para a sensibilidade sensorial. Uma pessoa com personalidade quieta pode preferir um ambiente silencioso e escuro, mas ela consegue ignorar o barulho de um restaurante cheio e conversar. Já para o autista, esses estímulos não ficam em segundo plano. O esforço em tentar concentrar a conversa, tantos sons ao mesmo tempo, pode consumir completamente a atenção e energia dele. Até a roupa usando o corpo é um estímulo extra para lidar para outras pessoas. É por causa também dessa dificuldade de lidar com situações sociais que o autista pode evitar contato visual. Questão de um jeito considerado brusco, não perceber quando alguém quer encerrar uma conversa, falar demais sobre um assunto ou precisar se afastar de ambientes muito estimulantes. Parece falta de educação, né? Quando você é autista, já passou por algumas situações que eu mencionei, tem que se explicar depois. Se você não é autista, eu entendo que seja difícil aceitar uma pessoa dessa forma. Porque no fundo você acredita que todo mundo pode melhorar, que pode aprender a se comportar melhor no ambiente social. Mas é preciso que você também entenda uma coisa. O autista é sim capaz de aprender regras sociais e lidar bem em qualquer situação. Mas isso para ele tem um custo imenso. Ele precisa ficar mascarando os comportamentos autistas, precisa forçar contato visual, evitar movimentos e sons que seriam vistos como estranhos para se adequar ao ambiente. E como o autismo nasce com a pessoa, aprender as regras sociais é muito mais difícil e cansativo para uma criança autista do que para uma neurotípica. O comportamento autista vira parte da personalidade dela. E sair disso gasta muita energia. Então, da próxima vez que você vê um autista que se comporta de forma normal, saiba que isso na verdade é uma grande batalha para a cabeça dele contra o próprio funcionamento. Ok, mas esse sofrimento é suficiente para ser considerado uma deficiência como uma pessoa com deficiência visual ou cadeirante. Eu já vou discutir com os especialistas sobre isso. Mas eu quero falar com você que sente que é diferente, você identificou em alguns comportamentos que você tem, ou tem alguém próximo que já tem alguma suspeita de ser autista pelo transtorno. Para saber com certeza se é autismo, não dá para fazer isso sozinho, porque chamar de internet não dá. É preciso passar por uma avaliação neuropsicológica profissional especializada, vai olhar para o histórico de vida, os critérios de diagnóstico do autismo e o impacto que as pessoas já têm na vida. E é bom investigar, porque o diagnóstico permite além do entendimento profundo de tudo que acontece na sua vida, você entende, por isso que eu sou assim, é por isso que eu sofri a vida inteira com isso. Você identifica pontos fracos, pontos fortes na sua própria personalidade. Além disso, o laudo neuropsicológico é um manual para um psicólogo trabalhar no seu caso. Você vai entregar o laudo para o psicólogo para entender melhor o seu funcionamento, vai melhorar os resultados da sua psicoterapia. E para fazer essa avaliação, quero te recomendar aqui a evidência dada pelo psicólogo Ronaldo Rabelo, já é meu parceiro desde o ano passado. Já que ele o que afinal é uma deficiência. Porque existe um senso comum de deficiência, é só aquilo que dá pra ver. Cadeira de rodas, então guia, e o autista ele não consegue andar, falar, ele enxerga normal, ele ouve normal, trabalha, namora. O que seria deficiente, né? Seja sincero nos comentários, já pensou assim, eu já até refleti nisso, estudar um pouco mais. Imagina uma pessoa deficiente visual numa fila de bar. Apesar da deficiência visual, tem gente que pode falar, pra que passar na frente, você pode esperar na fila, afinal não tem nenhum problema nas pernas, ela não precisaria de prioridade, ela só não enxerga. Mas quando você pensa em tudo que acontece antes e depois da pessoa chegar ali naquela fila, você entende que de fato é uma deficiência, porque esse tipo de benefício é importante. A pessoa com deficiência visual levou um bom tempo a mais pra conferir se a roupa do lado certo antes de vestir, pra achar isso no cabelo, demorou mais pra pedir um Uber atrás de comando de voz do celular, andar até o carro sem risco de cair nos braços da rua, até demorou mais pra descobrir qual fila era correta em banco, porque não tem quase nada escrito em braille e nem todo deficiente visual sabe ler isso. Imagina só a energia que essa pessoa deficiente gasta o dia inteiro só pra fazer coisas que pra nós são automáticas. A gente tem o costume de pensar que o benefício de parar em uma fase especial ou passar na fila é só pra aquele momento, mas esquece do custo invisível que a deficiência traz. E aqui entra o entendimento do que é uma deficiência de acordo com a OMS. São problemas ou desvios nas funções ou estruturas do corpo que limitam a pessoa de fazer atividades ou que restringem a sua participação na sociedade. Agora, ao invés da deficiência visual, vamos pensar na pessoa autista. Ela não tem uma doença, mas tem desvio da forma como o cérebro funciona, que gera dificuldade de participar ou fazer atividades na sociedade. Pra quem é exatamente por isso que o autismo hoje é considerado uma deficiência, inclusive, ela é uma deficiência invisível. E não é à toa que tanta gente esteja usando a colar de Girassol hoje, que representa deficiências invisíveis, ou só para colarzinho que a cabeça que representa autismo. E quando você já tinha visto esses símbolos, no fundo eles estão dizendo é, ei, eu tenho uma dificuldade, provavelmente você não tá vendo. Quando a gente olha os dados, esse sofrimento invisível começa a ficar mais claro. Eu aposto que você não tinha pensado nisso aí. Mesmo autistas sem deficiência intelectual tem menos chance de conseguir trabalho, porque cai em mim. São funcionais demais para serem contratados por cotas, mas diferente demais para o padrão do mercado. Nem diploma resolve. O estudo da Austrália mostrou que o desemprego de autistas graduados e sem deficiência intelectual chegou a 34%, na população geral é de 13,5%. Existe algum desafio que o autista está enfrentando aí que a gente não tá vendo. Autistas que passam o tempo todo mascarando seu comportamento para se encaixar, também tem maior risco de estresse crônico, ansiedade, depressão, tem maior risco de doenças intestinais, hormonais, cardiovasculares e várias outras, aumentando o risco de morte em comparação com pessoas da idade. Ou seja, toda a dificuldade de se relacionar no mundo social, que é fruto de um funcionamento cerebral, não uma escolha, gera consequências. E agora dá para compartilhar com cuidado. O sofrimento do autista é tão alto que o risco de suicídio é 9 vezes mais alto nos autistas nível 1 do que na população geral. Sabe disso? É por essas razões que o autismo nível 1 não pode ser chamado de autismo leve ou de sofrimento. E também por essas outras razões que ele foi incluído pela lei brasileira como deficiência em 2012. Inclusive todos os autistas hoje, nível 1 nível 2. De fato, o número de autistas vem crescendo a cada ano. O aumento foi 175% entre 2011 e 2022 só nos Estados Unidos. Podemos pensar mesmo no Brasil, não tem tantos dados assim. Mas dizer, tem pessoas fingindo ser autistas ou obtendo diagnóstico só para ganhar benefício é pesado demais. Sempre tem alguma pessoa que tenta mudar o sistema, que está procurando um diagnóstico para fazer alguma coisa, mas usar suspeitos sobre alguns. Para negar o sofrimento de milhões é muito injusto. Hoje, pelo menos 2,4 milhões de brasileiros já tiveram diagnóstico. Provavelmente um número muito subestimado. Desses, pelo menos 1 milhão são nível 1, de acordo com as poucas estimativas que nós temos no país. Mas tenha certeza que essa pessoa que mascara o autismo a vida inteira não está roubando uma vaga. Ela vem sofrendo com essa deficiência há anos e está pela primeira vez recebendo benefícios que aproximam ela de uma vida no mesmo nível da sua. E quando tem não tem a sua opinião sobre o autismo nível. E já manda esse vídeo para alguém que precisa ouvir isso. Agora, se você quer entender um monte de diagnóstico e cercado de mitos, é só clicar nesse vídeo aqui sobre TDAH. Um grande abraço, lembre-se que nem toda deficiência é visível como quem usa cadeira de rodas se diga pela ciência.
Did you know your perception of stress is actually more dangerous? Did you know that your perception of stress is actually more dangerous to your body than the stress itself? So if you've ever told yourself something like, oh, stress is just killing me, the belief that it's doing that might be doing more damage than the actual stress is doing damage to you. So let me tell you a little bit about the research behind it. So there was a really important study behind this. There was a study that tracked 30,000 adults for 8 years of time, and high stress plus the belief that stress was harmful, 43% of those people were at a higher risk of dying. High stress without that limiting belief, mortality risk was essentially identical to low stress individuals, even if the stress was the same, which I find fascinating. So same stress, different outcomes, basically, all hinging on your perception of stress. There's this very, very limiting belief that the stress is the thing that actually determines the physiological response, but it's actually the interpretation of stress itself that does that. So this is known as a stress mindset shift. And I think this is very important for people to understand that when your heart rate goes up, your body is protecting itself by mobilizing resources like blood flow, oxygen, things that can help you focus under that serious stressful event. So the cardiovascular profile, though, of someone who sees stress as a challenge looks totally different at the physiological level than someone who sees it as a threat. And there were Yale researchers that looked into this. They found that people who view stress as something to utilize as opposed to something that could cause a negative impact are less likely to become depressed under pressure and are physically healthier and perform better at work. I'm not trying to say that stress isn't real or like you shouldn't pretend that it's a concern and that all stress is good or something, but it is important to understand that how you perceive things impacts a physiological response in your body. So next time you feel that your pressure spikes or your heart rate goes up, try thinking of it as an activation in your body instead of anxiety, and that really does make a difference.
Maybe. Right.
I believe resellers are deserving of no respect and have one of the most shameful professions imaginable. It's one of those things that's like a blemish on your own reputation if it comes out that you're a reseller. It's one of those things where your family finds out and they start inviting you over Thanksgiving. I think it's just so unbelievably cringe, scummy, and pathetic. And I know I've been focusing on like Pokemon scalpers, but I'm just talking about scalpers and resellers in general. It is just so gross, man. And it's so beyond out of control. So I know this is nothing new, and I'm sure a lot of you are familiar with. There's a whole career people are trying to make out of being popcorn bucket resellers. And I'm not jerking your dirt either. This is a very real thing that some delusional, imbecile, loveless losers are actually trying to make their life's work. This is their business. They go and buy out the entire inventory of those limited edition popcorn buckets that come out of the movies in order to flip them online for a profit. And there's one guy who I just found out about that is so unapologetic and proud of it. And he films himself going to buy out all the popcorn buckets inventory from the theaters in order to flip them online. Now, of course, he does like to spread his wings here, and he doesn't just marry himself to only popcorn buckets that he sells. He of course has to dabble in Pokemon because that's just part of his scalper DNA. But I want to show you his popcorn bucket endeavors in particular because this is extraordinarily embarrassing garbage. It's wild to me how we've reached the point where we actually have to implement buy limits on every single item ever produced because goobers like this exist now. Where if there's not buy limits, they'll just buy fucking all of it in order to flip online. Even things as simple as squishy fidget toys like Neatos and shit. People are slitting each other's throats over so that way they can flip them online for a profit with their big markups. And now popcorn buckets in the crosshairs here from the reseller plague here.
Lose your citizenship rights at this point. Seriously. If you do shit like this. I'm not even joking.
Were the two people behind it watching on in disgust and horror as this guy spends presumably hundreds of dollars to ensure that no one else can get those popcorn buckets? I imagine they were probably waiting in line and probably were wanting a popcorn bucket here as well, considering the look on their faces is just shock and awe. Like what kind of loser they just were witness to like a cryptid sighting. So I imagine they probably wanted one as well. They're probably there to see Toy Story. And now they can't get one because this guy just bought them all. But at least he had a heart. At least the Saints offered them some free popcorn, which they politely declined. And I fully understand why. I think that's a completely understandable decision to make there. When it comes to getting offered free food or drink from a stranger, probably best not to play fire. Too many horror stories out there to light up that can of worms. Just play safe, especially when dealing with resellers. The scalpers, you never know what kind of evil shit they might be up to. So I fully get why they say no to that offer. But now this dude gets to fill his bags with those precious popcorn buckets. Luckily, he was able to get all of it into his car. Thankfully, I was really praying for him there, and well, it worked. Came through, he was able to get all those popcorn buckets into his vehicle, and now he's got a lot of free popcorn as well.
Do you like popcorn?
At the very least, he found a homeless man to give the popcorn to, so that's positive, right? That's nice. Except, here's the thing, I don't trust that, because I'm going to show you another one of his videos where he gets more Buzz Lightyear popcorn buckets, clearing out their inventory yet again, just this gluttonous fucking maniac here coming through. He does the same thing where he's looking for a homeless person to give that free popcorn to, and then it's the exact same clip as this, where it's the same homeless man, it's the exact same clip, just repeated again, yet on a completely different day of him clearing out the popcorn bucket inventory. So how does that work? Seems like he's lying about that. He's just playing the same clip again. And who's to say that that's actually a homeless person, not just like a friend of his that he had come through and pick up popcorn buckets, so he gets some good points online, like, look how nice I am, look at what a benevolent angel I am, I gave a homeless person free popcorn, now scalping these popcorn buckets. Can everyone please appreciate the good deed that I've just done? Also, these Buzz Lightyear popcorn buckets are selling for €80, by the way. Please get them now, I know. I'm like crawling over each other like World War Z zombies, get their hands on my overpriced Buzz Lightyear popcorn buckets. She's teaching him how to set this up because A, she can tell that he is visibly stupid, and B, she's under the false pretense that he's buying these to use them. He's not. He's buying these to exploit the scarcity that he's introducing here. That's the MO of all scalpers. Buy as much as you possibly can, so that way normal people who actually want them can get them, so then they engage in the secondary market with these fucking fungal ghouls who are capitalizing off it with this huge markup to line their pockets and take advantage of it. So he's not ever going to use one of these or anything. They're not for him. He's just reselling them. He's just a piece of shit scumbag.
Oh, mate, what the fuck? Do you like popcorn? Yeah. Do you want some? Literally. Not enough. That's a little bit.
You see what I mean? It's just the exact same clip that he copy and pasted here. So that is fraudulent. I'm assuming that with this popcorn bucket, he just threw away the free popcorn. He had that popcorn in his trunk. It wasn't like it was fitting. So I imagine he just threw it in the trash, just wasting all that food. Clearly didn't want to show that to the audience. So again, he went back to the old tried and true, the El Clasico. Like I told the person, look, here's the clip. You know, it's the exact same clip in the other video. He just repeated it. It can't be from the same day or anything because this time around his popcorn, free popcorn was in a different bag in the trunk, not the back seat. So it's just I don't know if he thought he was fooling with that. But he also probably doesn't care because the people that are watching this is two people. One, people like me that shoot spitballs at him and believe that everywhere he goes, he just had bells rung, like shame bells, like people know that there's a scalper going through just sneaky degenerate. Or two, like-minded losers that are watching this and thinking that it's a good business opportunity and like trying to join in and like follow along here so they can try and make a little bit of money flipping fucking Buzz Lightyear popcorn buckets. He doesn't really care about like whether or not people know that he threw away popcorn. He probably just tried to like cover his own ass just in case. But it didn't work. It's very clearly a lie. You didn't give that popcorn to a homeless man in this video. It's the same clip from the other video. Anyway, this shit sucks. He sucks. Scalpers, resellers, just complete scum. That's really about it. Anyone remember back in the day that whole thing about yelling fire in a crowded area being like a big no-no because of, you know, how dangerous it can be to do something like that? Well, I think there is a word more powerful and instills more fear, and it's Pokemon. If you say Pokemon in a crowded area, get ready for dead bodies to just start hitting the floor. If you cover yourself in raw meat and dove into the middle of open water in the ocean, there would be less sharks that eat you alive than had you covered yourself in Pokemon packs and walked into a target. You are just surrounded and completely devoured by scalpers. It's piranhas that just attack you out of nowhere. If they smell that you have a Pokemon pack nearby, it's like a Looney Tunes scene where they come in and steal your flesh off, and just a pile of bones that collapse. Now, before I start. So obviously I'm going to be yapping about some more scalper degeneracy where they go out in public and fight and fuck each other to get their hands on some of these cards in order to flip it online for a slight profit. Before doing that, I want to show you just how out of control this is across the board from companies as well that are trying to capitalize off the Pokemon hysteria. A new product from Pokemon here, first part illustration collection series 2, launched yesterday with an MSRP of $15. That means that's the price you should expect to pay for that product from retailers. It's the manufacturer's suggested retail price. And this new collection here was suggested at $15. But as you can imagine, that's a fairy tale. That's a fucking pipe dream. I'm more likely to hit a growth spurt in my 30s than you are to find this product for anywhere close to 15 clams. And it's not just from scalpers. If you try to go into a GameStop, for example, to get it, they're selling it for $60. That is shameful. That is downright embarrassing. GameStop is already like a pathetic joke that is only held up from the hopium from the community that's bought into the idea that they can make oodles of cash off of them. But the actual store itself is complete bullshit. It's garbage. The only thing that's retro game prices or if you're gambling at it and you just do the fucking GameStop power packs for Pokemon cards. But they can't even do that competitively. Compared to the other Gamba Pokemon packs out there, the power packs from GameStop are far away the worst value you can find. So even if you are just like oozing grease and like heavily addicted to Pokemon pack gambling, GameStop power packs are your worst fucking option. They can't even be competitive in that space. There's still trash there too. It's so cringe how bad GameStop is. So now they unapologetically have these collection series 2 going up for $60 when MSRP is $15. Of course, they're not the only losers doing that, but it's not like this is across the board. Everyone's doing it because, for example, Best Buy, they are selling it at MSRP $15. So it's not like, so I don't think that argument works in defense of GameStop. The hiding in numbers, like, oh, we're going to protect it because it's just common practice. Everyone's doing it. Everyone's smoking these joints, so we had to smoke it too. It's just extraordinarily shameless companies like GameStop that are okay, probably marking up for $60 to match the standard scalper prices, which are right now $60. There's people like there's no MSRP and some real legitimate card shops that are just now all gung ho all over the huge markup trying to capitalize on Pokemon hysteria because it's so
Can you use?
but there's tons of people that are still buying at 60. Stop doing that. I promise you're going to be okay. Not just throwing 60 balloons down the shitter to get your hands on this new product. You're going to get arrested for refusing to pay scalper prices. It's not required. And get this, if you stop buying at that price, they'll stop marking up to that price. They only get away with doing that because there are people that still gluttonously just consume it no matter how big the markup on this new product is. I see a lot of people discussing the GameStop inflated prices in particular, and I saw this post here about how this individual apparently asked the manager why they jacked the price up so much. And of course, they all this Facebook post. This could have just been him in a cave hole and fucking falling asleep and coming up with his dream. But this is something I've seen expressed throughout the last few months about certain scalpers and companies justifying their huge markups. So according to this post, he says to keep all the resellers and scalpers out of the stores and buying and to give all the non-resellers a chance to buy Pokemon products, which I think is completely ridiculous as this post points out. So they're trying to get people who don't resell a chance to buy, but you've jacked the price up so much that normal people can't afford to buy it. It doesn't make any sense. Also, to go a bit deeper, if the goal was to get scalpers and resellers out of the plastic, sell MSRP cut the plastic, that immediately gets rid of every scalper and reseller there because the plastic is now gone. Anyone who actually does want to collect the product or own the product doesn't care about the plastic being cut. It's something Target recently started doing with that viral video that popped up with the Target guy playing the plastic much, which is a lot of scalpers that are watching in horror. That is the optimal way of handling it. If the goal is to get the scalpers and resellers out, jacking the price up to match scalper prices does the opposite. If you just want them out, cut the plastic. You don't hurt the normal customer, you only hurt the scalpers, which is a big deal. But I think we are all smart enough to realize the real reason they have the prices through the fucking roof up below Zoo is because they want to just continue to financially capitalize off people's inability to control their spending when it comes to new Pokemon products. So they move product at $60. They're not going to drop the price down now. The thing is, even if they did, they're not wrong. If they did sell MSRP, it would be mainly scalpers and resellers gobbling most of it up because they are buying every time there's an MSRP drop for anything Pokemon related. They're camping out of the stores for 12 fucking hours to be first in line to grab every single one of them that they can fit in their fucking arms. And it would go to scalpers and resellers, which is why the plastic they immediately stop the plastic Pokemon products up. Then only in the hands of people that actually want it instead of the scalpers that just look to make a quick buck off of it. But again, they're not going to drop the price MSRP. The point is, even if everyone was selling MSRP, it would be mainly scalpers and resellers that continue to get the lion's share of it because that's what it is right now. They're constantly buying, they're doing every underhanded tactic imaginables. They have so much inventory to jack up the price to absurd heights. I truly wish that I had like a connection to a distributor to get wholesale products. I would just sell MSRP and cut the plastic off and do everything I could to face off these scalpers. It's very rare to get an MSRP product that isn't immediately doubled up by these fucking parasites, these disgusting worms. So anyway, enough ranting about the prices of what's happened to this hobby. A hobby which, by the way, was originally meant for children. Let's go ahead and talk about, or show you rather, a guy who showed off a gun at the Pokemon vending machine trying to intimidate a child while he was trying to camp out to get some Pokemon product of his own.
I'll get the booster box. If you guys want the box, we'll take the 10.
Oh, man, humanity.
And
humanity
Cool, man.
at
That's when
its
you're flashing a
peak.
gun at people waiting at the vending machine, including a child. There's actually another kid there as well that comes in towards the end of the video, and he just flashes a gun at them, and it's blatantly obvious that he's doing that on purpose. Apparently, they've been there for quite a while, and the others that were waiting in line were getting a little antsy about it. And the kid in that video starts heckling this fucking loser. So the kid wasn't even afraid after the guy flashed his gun, which I believe the whole purpose was to get everyone to pipe down, stop, insulting him for being such a loser.
What do you guys do?
You can hear the kid say, I guess that 5-hour wait paid off to the guy who's now taking a walk of shame out of there. Again, after he just flashed his gun at a child, by the way. So people also left because this guy apparently was taking an extremely long time to do his business here. It's just so pathetic, man. What an unbelievable loser. There's already been a shooting at Pokemon vending machine. I covered that. So it's just crazy that this isn't even the first time about a gun being shown, at least not used in this case, over Pokemon cards at the Pokemon card vending machine. Some wonderful sloppy fighting over Pokemon cards there, the way they're just rolling around each other, throwing these wet little punches. This shit looks like something you'd see at a Tory Bash back in the day. Got a deep cut reference, I didn't decide. The point is though, these two are now ground and pounding to get their hands on Pokemon cards there as the others look on, and one person says, no, should get cards. Yeah, you know what, fair enough. The second the knuckle sandwiches start flying, they should just shut the entire fucking thing down for the day. Absolutely. I feel bad for her kid though, because it seems like she actually is there to get Pokemon product for her kid, because at least she was mature enough to realize that fighting over Pokemon cards is pathetic and just disgusting. Yeah, there's so many other scalping fights that I could cover for today, but I'm already yapping a lot. It is actually happening every single day. It's just so fucking out of control, man. Anyway, stop paying crazy like GameStop prices for Pokemon product and scalper prices for Pokemon product, and it will stop happening. It'll stop doing it. Just want to remind you of that. Anyway, that's about it.
Oh. No.
Normies are by far the most popular character class in the game, and at the same time, they're divided into law. Only the side quests require less 80 IQ, but barely able their attributes since they peaked in the tutorial and haven't worked out how to change the car clock yet. But much to the horror of specialist classes, this build is one of the most successful at completing the mainline quest, and has a peaceful and uneventful playthrough, which in recent patches is a massive flex. Other than receiving emotional damage by other specialist players calling them basic, their success seems to be apparent in every part of the map, and even are well liked in some servers. So is it time to reject the fun but less practical subclass you spec into, and embrace a standard playthrough? Let's find out if maining Normie is worth it. Most Normie...
No. Theodorius. It is. I guess. It's the meta after all. Blow up. It's really worth it. Just too materialistic. I'm not sure about it. Let me see. Okay. I don't know, but there's more joy in life. Knowing you're probably gonna get less and less, but you're gonna be yourself still. Of course, one thing is pretending to be a normie and being a normie itself, but at the same time, it still sucks. The perception of being a normie, I guess. Okay, it's easy to ignore if you already are a normie. Oh fuck, it's crashing. It's not. The best you can do is, if you're already a normie, is to not denormify yourself, no matter how painful it is to other people. Even if
October 2020 classic.
it's a narcissistic sociopath. At the end of the day, it's still the meta, so you gotta still push for the same thing, no matter what, no matter what people say about you.
The October 2020 classic patch has been out for about a week or so now, and it has kind of exposed.
Hold on. Okay.
And proven right a lot of the stuff that myself and many others said on things like the Group Up podcast and a lot of other things about the game being oversimplified and dumbed down over time. That was one of the biggest claims we made about Overwatch 2, that the game was dumbed down, they were rewarding less skill and oversimplifying the game and taking depth out of the game, which I think is very, very true at this point, and I can 100% say that the game has been dumbed down over time. However, there are a couple things that I like about the new game compared to the old game as well. We're going to talk about these things today. So, reminder guys, the Patreon coaching is back now. You get our first podcast to the channel. Okay, burst healing since Overwatch 2 came out is so noticeable and so frustrating. It's so nice to go into classic mode. If the support is not anticipating damage, they can't turn around and instantly bail out outside fast mortality. Maybe they were trying to use the modern game a lot more than previously. Okay, if you're playing you're playing soldier, you don't angle, you shoot somebody below. That person takes a mindlessly salmon angle, to them or back shift or break back, because none of those abilities existed or burst heal back in the original game. It was so nice to actually go rewarded on your angle. Even if you do stuff like tank, the burst healing could not on that tank. Okay, so again, the burst healing queen in the game is insanely strong, and if you combine that with season 9 helpful, it's even stronger, right? Like a lot of duels on angles felt so much better, even with the slower projectiles. In the old game, I really miss that. Oh my god, getting that burst healing feels amazing with those old HP tools and tiny kills. Number 2, the second thing I noticed most, I enjoyed it a ton, was the lack of hyper mobility. Post Overwatch 2 has been insane. I cannot tell you how nice it was for a Roadhog to have to evade and sit still. Roadhog had a fair trade-off, right? A one-shot hook and one-tap somebody. It was so nice to play against. Rather than the 800 HP version of the character that can evade, has that 2k HP fight that can move while evading. Heal his team now with burst and then one-shot you across the map. Absolutely ridiculous. The designs of the original game were much more fair, and that not every character needs to have mobility function in the game. Modern game, every support, most DPS revival have to have some sort of crazy mobility. We read the entire trigger on his base kit on top of his teleport in his race. Roadhog has to run around while evading. But other stuff that can pass over the years. Mobility was not a requirement. Every character to be a character in the game. But in the modern game now, you don't have mobility. Those side soldiers like, oh, it range damage. It's very, very hard for you to be the character. You have to make the same tank like a range and impressive for extra right? Or you get that mobility with range damage or keeping the game. But designs are much more generalized nowadays compared to the freedom design they used to have back then. But not every character has some sort of insane bailout or hyper mobility. I've heard that version of the game was much more fun. Using it was way more about how you play rather than what you were on. That was really, really nice. Let's talk about the next big elephant outside the burst healing story. Well, okay, let's talk about Season 9, guys. Season 9, I stand by this. Made this game a billion times worse. The game's way less thoughtful, way less thought inducing, way more autopilot from your brain off, and way more dumbed down. One of the biggest design goals of Overwatch, I love podcast saying that they were intentionally dumbed down the game. And by God did they. Because what I love about Season 9 Overwatch is so noticeable is that you didn't need hyper mobility to actually strafe and have skill with movement in duels. Legitimately 80 strafe one-on-ones in the micro and make them miss shots, especially when against Hanzo or a projectile character Like, you didn't need a soak slide to slide all the way out the pool in order to survive. You legitimately 80 straight fair, all this stuff. You know, and make people miss shots. I miss that part of the game. So much harder to that now. It's so better. They travel faster for everyone. They made the game even more mindless. And I hated that. So going back to the game, I had slower too. I had to think way more and be way more actively engaged in the fight that I was in then compared to now, where it's literally like so much more just mindless walk down mid-value. The game was so much more thoughtful. The micro duels like regular stuff. And because it wasn't global regen passive, you couldn't just mindlessly take damage. Now, I will say, one thing I did actually miss was the global regen passive. I would prefer that. And that was the only part of the season I got well. If you miss that, you have to rely on supports to heal. And man, like especially with the modern day sport players on the roll back then, they don't have diversity. They have way less awareness. Like so unaware of what's going on around them. I'm not trying to sports, but it's just something that they really couldn't have leadership. It's insane how much streamlined sports roll. Power roll. Yeah, that's the entire goal of Overwatch. Support players always stand for play games. They're redesigning the entire game to make sports the most valuable, the easiest, like pseudo identity roll in the game. That's what they've done. At the 20 class mode, 100% play gun. And better or worse, if you argue that comment, change the point. So we shall see. But man, I mean, that global regen passive, taking damage actually matters. Taking damage actually matters. You didn't get that by bursting constantly, bursting so much more. Regen on your own. Every character had the same abilities. You had to be much more helpful. Of course, you take the angles, you take, and you're actually the duels, projectiles, going at speed of light, so you actually have to aim more consistently. Everything felt more weighted. The game actually felt so much better back then. Those TKs, those projectile speeds, those show season 9 was update for the sake of update. Not that the game was still intensive, not the game run, it made the game more autopilot, brain dead value dopamine. That was their goal. It was not to make the game better. It certainly didn't make the game better. Gold felt so much better. Play the old titles. I love the modern game. I know the modern warfare. I just really like new characters. I love the version of the new game with the core values of the game. They go and say, you know what, we're going to reduce our character ability. We're going to season. We're going to reduce personally across the board. We're going to get rid of the passive. You'll have to pull so that if you're playing versus on individual decision making, you choose to heal, punish, take a shot. You're going to wait for your decision. Characters on your shine. Have individual skills, decision making sports. You should be way more worried about it. If you were at this sport back then, you had to make correct decisions. Nowadays, you can mindlessly just shoot your tank, use all your personal abilities right into your tank, right into your front line. While having dual potential insane ability, you get enormous amounts of value. Overwatch 2 is literally Overwatch. They dumbed this game down so much. There was so much of a special skill structure in the game. It just sucks that that's what's powerful, like an actual insane amount of depth. You don't realize this. You've been playing this now for so long. You don't play the classic Overwatch. Like, I should think about this way more. Like, the old game is so much more thoughtful. Every single match. It's not every character has to be generous. Overwatch doesn't need 800 HP, but you know, damage on the bait, mobility on the bait, teaming on the bait, then walk on the corner and one shot anyway. Like, so doesn't need 2 slides to be out. Your cast roll doesn't have to be all this stuff. All these characters have all these things covered, especially the tank role. Don't have to be that way. In the classic game, characters have weaknesses. There's way more distinct and designed to be way more unique on characters. That was so much like these characters are more unique identity. They bring something unique to the table. That's what stand out and makes cast more, especially in situations where design thrive. That's not even only for the characters in that situation, but again, it was so nice not going against tanks. You sports to have to do everything for the value. They use the player to think about decision making rather than characters doing for you. Again, this is corporation of game design and what's happened in the modern era of games where a lot of these games are designed to base your engagement and play for you, die for you, rather than having a really good depth sort of work that makes players think about what they're doing. So whenever they say Overwatch hype, but frankly, does design the game the opposite way in the Overwatch era. Just to give every character insane size and personally plays cooldowns doesn't make the games more better. Now, feel free to make yourself comments which one's better. I personally just miss the old style game where you can fit the characters really well, it works really well. I was just running around autopilot, M1 and playing Call of Duty on angle. Like, no, I just have to think more. I like the hero part, the hero shooter. I think the old game has core values captured that much better than designs they made in the modern games. Oversimplify things, create characters, weak mobility, front line, modern game. Compared to the old game, hot base, blind bullies, in the modern game, hot base, you pin them. Now they can just live watch all the one shots in the right? That being said, I really like the quality of these characters. Like Hog, like channels, not shooting force, like that, shooting force, all the time. Little things like that. They're not like quality fighting characters that much better. When it comes to the core principles of the game, the only thing I keep in the modern game is the global regen passive. All the person in the game have to realize before. They sports have anticipating a lot more. I reduce mobility abilities in the game. Heroes like Cash and ability, positioning no matter what. I reduce the impact of the objectives and the trial points. That's 80 straight in micro rules. Getting value skill. And skill ability doesn't have to be shoulder slide. Whereas checkers ability, you actually micro much more in your rules. That skill that way. There's so many things that used to be in the game where not taking damage important to be able to time too. Hey, like check damage really does matter. You can't just take infinite damage mindlessly down main autopilot. All the rapid changes. Those little things that the old game had that the old game didn't give you for free. The new game continuously bails you out for. I miss and we a little bit more into that hardcore side of things rather than I'm going to AFK down main and just stay on my abilities and hit buttons like I'm playing Fruit Ninja. No, this is Overwatch. This same game here with the depth it had. It's certainly not more competitive now. It's the design perspective that it used to be. So I'm tired of people saying the game is more competitive now than it used to be. It absolutely is not. It's nowhere close with the man that it used to be. And you can argue that's better or worse, sure, I guess. But anybody try to tell you that not dumb down Overwatch 2 massively. It is lying through the teeth. And the only dumb down making the game easier change that made it did genuinely make the game better. In my opinion was that global regen passive. Less DPS, less reliant on the sports to stare and make sure they heal. And I did like actually find it opens up a little bit more play on most characters across the map. That is what all the rest of the oversimplified dumb down game. And do not let anyone tell me what it absolutely did. If you feel that game match for the games, way more fun. You're saying that you're the game. Everybody's got the same versatility. You're ability over and over and over.
I got this video all the time. I'm not even sure if I watched it. I'll watch another time. No. Well, I don't know, more like the perception of... In a way, the game got more complex, but at the same time, more forgiving. More complex and forgiving. Just how they balanced the modernization of the gameplay. Well... I don't know. You still need to strategize with your team to win matches. It's not like that. Everybody playing Doomfist. Just Doomfist slop. All over, over and over. Not very fun to play, but okay. They had to rework his entire thing. They had to move him to become a tank and be able slower because of how insufferable he was. It's like a type of insufferable character, insufferable enemy in Bioshock. They have to add a bunch of annoying animations to it. You can barely keep track of them because of how fast they move. That's how Doomfist was. It's just movement slop. It just takes a single second to just go from point A to point B in a very far distance. With a lot of verticality as well. It's very annoying. It's about as annoying as trying to hit a Bioshock enemy. He just keeps dodging you. Even when you're dead center, them just nope, all the way to the other side. But damn it, they had to rework him. Doomfist slop. Some people quite literally stop playing after. But they never return to the game no matter how many other patches the game. They simply gave up on it. No, my Doomfist is gone. I don't find this game fun anymore. God damn it. I love my broken character. I love winning games without having to think too much. But yeah. You see the comment and I'll watch it. Yeah, that's what I thought. Just place. Sunny place. Sunny place. Let me see the links. I'm down, but at the same time, made it more fun to play. Made it more complex as well, despite being kinda more forgiving, whatever. Still fun to play. I've seen a lot of people on my Steam friend list returning to the game. They don't just play TF2 or anything else, Apex Legends. And I see a bunch of them just playing Overwatch. Just what the fuck? I used to be the only one there. Okay, whatever. Scalper's being retarded. One Scalper's being retarded again. Maybe, surely, maybe. Pretty much yep. The truth everybody knows, but I want to talk about. World Cup slop. Steam Machine. Zuckerberg. More Steam Machine. Sure. Or Norwegian Beast. Newswa. Just there. Oh. Just productivity. And yep. I'm just like I said, just get to it. Some people really, if you're autistic, you just really should be careful. Just try not to see things the way, in the wrong way. Especially when you don't know. If you're being sarcastic, you cannot see sarcasm properly. You cannot notice it. You just see a fucking joke. You cannot even tell if it was a joke or not. But yeah, I guess sometimes people are so aware that they don't give a fuck. They just wanna. This is whatever. I'm out of ideas. I need to produce something. I need to come up with a stupid article, no matter what. And that's what they got. Whatever. Yep. But there's one thing missing here. I almost forgot about it. Is that the right place though? Yes. Oh, fuck. Hold on. Okay. Oh, what? So guys, we did it. MIT edition. Oh well. I'm out. It's just a slideshow. God damn it, seriously. anybody here? Anybody? I'm not watching the slideshow. Fuck it. Oh, nobody talks. Just nope. Slideshow slop. It was. AI slop. World Cup slop. What? What is about? But
This is my favorite view in Boston. It doesn't necessarily mean anything. I just happen to notice when I got Cola. This old building was totally sold out by the skyscraper behind it. I found out later that this building is actually kind of known for that. It's called the last 10 minutes in the West End, and it's considered historically significant because it was the only building of its time to not be knocked down midway through rebuilt. I first noticed the last 10 years ago. But when I woke up this morning, I thought it was finding my own picture. And luckily I've been looking for an excuse to go out into the city and try the Canon DSLR. I've had for 10 years, but never really figured out how to use. I didn't remember the iPhone billboard being there, but it definitely adds to the visual metaphors if that's what you're looking for. A few blocks away from the last 10 minutes, you have the new State Street building. I remember when I was a kid, you couldn't see any skyscrapers from the north end, but nowadays you can't look anywhere without seeing this giant glass PS5. And again, maybe the north end was only blocked out skyscrapers because I was so much smaller back then. I didn't have the same perspective. A few years ago, they also built this giant Verizon tower on top of Old North Station and gutted the space under TD Garden Dead in the subterranean Star Market. Around that time, the amorphous, all-encompassing they also started construction around this giant brutalist ziggurat that I think was a parking lot above the Haymarket station. Haymarket was always my stop when I was in Boston as a kid, so I wasn't happy to see it go, even if it was a ugly building. The scaffolding was up for probably 5 years without any visible change in the building. But then one day I happened to come into the city and it was just gone. As far as I've seen, there hasn't been any movement to build anything in its place, but at least the north end now has an unobstructed view of the State Street building from base to tip. I'm thinking about buildings that are torn down and built into something more modern, and I'm thinking about the buildings that are still there after decades and centuries. You never see real buildings in movies set in the near future, even if it's in a real city. It's always a brand new high-tech cityscape, as if these real-life cities were systematically demolished and modernized in one fell swoop. Last night I fell asleep reading David Lynch's book Catching the Big Fish. I just picked it up because I noticed it at the library. I don't claim to be any kind of David Lynch scholar outside of being a Twin Peaks fan. I finished the book when I woke up this morning, and I'm not going to say it changed my life or anything, but it definitely started greasing the wheels of internal clarity. See, I've been working on this semi-narrative video essay about modern media using old sitcom tropes as a shorthand for trauma and cultural nostalgia. It's a pretty light topic, but of course I had overcomplicated it into something beyond just a video essay. As I was walking around town and experimenting with my camera, I wondered if there was something Lynchian in the way all these traffic cones kept appearing on statues around town. But no, that was just the aftermath of the World Cup. I remember a couple quotes from Lynch about how the world is getting darker and more chaotic. I remember appreciating those quotes because I thought they meant Lynch agreed with my well-articulated stance that the world sucks and we're all getting diced. And I definitely thought Twin Peaks season 3 was proof that Lynch was a doomer like me. But I was cherry-picking those quotes, and that's not at all what season 3 was about. All the ridiculously dark stuff in season 3 existed in the original show. They just weren't live shown on TV in 1990. The whole point of Twin Peaks, like Blue Velvet before, it was showing the way peaceful Americana could be used as a mask for gravity. One of Lynch's most famous quotes goes, "I learned that just beneath the surface there's another world, and still different worlds as you dig deeper. I knew it as a kid, but I couldn't find the proof. It was just kind of a feeling. There was goodness in blue skies and flowers, but another force. So while pain and decay also accompanies everything. It was just wrong of me to think that decay has only recently appeared, or even that it's gotten significantly worse over time. Thinking about innocent Americana and all it entails, I committed to the Odyssey that my camera experimentation was taking on and headed to the Green Dragon, the little watering hole turned tourist trap that gave the founding fathers the liquid courage they needed to face down an empire. I remember that the founding fathers were all around my age during the beginning of the American Revolution, and I started to wonder if their parents ever complained that kids these days were too focused on tax reform to commit themselves to silversmith. You think boomers complain a lot about young people not going to church? Back in colonial times, the city literally hired a guy to go around everyone's house on Sunday and make sure they weren't playing hooky. I made a lot of sweeping statements in my Greg Simpson video, and I'm kind of starting to regret it. Not about Trump or Gaza or the non-existence of the liberal backbone, but about the cherry-picked facts that I cited as evidence of humanity's flamerization. I wasn't trying to be dishonest. I didn't realize I overstated my opinions until after the video gained traction and hit 100,000 views. And I'm not succumbing to the people who said the video was good until it got all political, but I am saying that most of the horrible realities I mentioned, like Epstein and Gaza genocide, are not contingent on the 21st century, let alone the 2020s. Donald Trump, I think, is an extreme flamerization, a caricature of American greed and prejudice. So go ahead and tell me again I have Trump derangement syndrome, but I'm actually letting him off the hook here because I've kind of stopped thinking that anything is actually changing, and I think that's a good thing. To remind myself that things do change on a human level and prevent myself from swinging too far in the other direction. I visited Quincy Market and went upstairs to the veranda where I once sat and ate clam chowder with a girl I thought I was going to marry. Our individual lives are different, moment to moment, day to day. Even our bodies are different. Our cells constantly dying and being reborn. If you zoom in on the course of human history as far as you can, you'll see that even though matter can't be created or destroyed, no 2 nanoseconds in the history of the universe have ever had the same atoms in the same configuration. If you zoom out as far as you can, you'll see that people haven't really changed in the 300,000 years we've existed as Homo sapiens. Unfortunately, you'll see that the Earth has changed, and pretty quickly too. Climate change might not kill the planet, but it will kill humanity. The man-made destruction of the environment is probably the most significant, if not the only quantifiable effect we've had on the universe. Yes, the invention of the nuclear bomb was a major turning point as the first time in history that one man was able to kill millions with the press of a button. And you might say that the internet and now AI were Promethean achievements that can't be put back in the bottle. But all 3 of those inventions could hypothetically be lost to human knowledge. Climate change cannot be reversed. But I'm not really interested in just sitting back and feeling shitty about it anymore. See, these steps used to be the front steps of the province house, which was where the king appointed governor lived before the revolution. This was where Governor Thomas Gage lived when he held his occupation of Boston while it was being sieged on all sides by the Continental Army. It's just a restaurant now, but the steps are still here. And it's across the street from my favorite parkade. Last night, after I fell asleep reading Catching the Big Fish, I had a dream that I can only describe as on the nose in the manner of a film student who just watched Eraserhead for the first time. Not that I have any control over my dreams, but I have been studying young for what it's worth. My dream was about this elite boarding school that was totally modern and high tech, the perfect school for rich people who wanted to get rid of their kids for 9 months a year. But the thing was, the school's headmaster was a complete sadist. He didn't physically hurt anyone, but he loved psychologically torturing the students in ways that were subtle enough that they could never make their parents understand what was going on. I was just at the school as an observer. I was walking around with my camera interviewing the students and staff, which is probably why I woke up and immediately thought I had to walk around with my camera. In my dream, I got in with a group of students who were plotting to kill the headmaster right as they graduated. They almost got him too, but he managed to escape. But that's when he accidentally looked into the magic mirror. I didn't forget to mention the magic mirror; it just wasn't around before that. But as soon as I saw it, I knew it was magic and that he had used it to torture the kids. I think it showed them their innermost fears and insecurities or something like that. So the headmaster was very careful to never look into it, but he accidentally did as he was escaping, and his reflection looked just like him, but with the face of a baby. And then suddenly his real face was a baby's too, and he just collapsed into a fetal position. I don't know exactly what happened, but it looked like his mind turned into a baby's mind when his face turned into a baby's face. So he was left completely helpless, unable to speak or even think for himself. The students decided to leave him alive because they thought this was an even worse fate than death. I really wanted to go to Cheers so I could get some B-roll for my sitcom video. So I walked more than a mile in the drizzle, and when I got there, it was closed for a burst pipe. I wonder if David Lynch would say that was fate or something. Probably not, because I had to race like a piss horse and it took me forever to find another place to sit. Is it only fate when there's a good outcome? I don't regret the videos I made that acknowledge negative facts of life, but I'm starting to regret the fact that I made them with the mindset that there's no point in trying to change anything. Do I believe in the human race? No, not really. But I do believe in individual people, and I believe that individual people can come together and work together against existential threats we face, which are actually fewer than you might think, all things considered. I think that human beings can be greater than the sum of their parts. David Lynch says in his book that if the square root of 1% of the human race practiced transcendental meditation, that would be enough to have a positive effect on humanity. Even if you don't go for that hippie stuff, he's got a point that you only need a fraction of the whole world to work together to affect real change. Yes, even though Elon just hit $1 trillion and climate change is worse than ever, a collective of people can combat the worst impulses of our species. Humans together can be better than humanity. I said in my Evangelion video that the human race is like a single organism, and every individual person is like a cell. We just have to decide when we group together, are we going to be an antibody or cancer? I noticed the scaffolding on Beacon Street that was covered in tar until it I thought that was funny. I wondered if the construction company always does that, or if it was a mandate from the city that Beacon Hill stay living class. Either way, I don't think they're building a new class skyscraper here, not like with North Station and the State Street building. The creating tendrils of modern architecture haven't quite reached Peak Hill yet. It's funny how all recent developments aside, for every building I grew up seeing in Boston, there was a time when each one of them was being built and stuck out like a sore thumb in the skyline, and there were probably hundreds of locals per building who complained about them the way I complained about the State Street building. That makes me wonder which buildings aren't there anymore. And
Watch this over later as well.
United States, must have
The
been built
Venom ever coming forever.
about them ruining the neighborhood. Nothing really changes, and yet everything's changing all the time, all around us. Every cell in our bodies and every celestial body above us. I just hope that we as human beings can get our shit together in time to realize our full potential. And don't worry, even if we were all as enlightened as the late David Lynch, there would still be time to complain about how kids these days don't like the same things you liked when you were their age. After all, we're only human.
Maybe. I got it, but maybe. kind of a hopium kind of variable, yeah. How do you tell apart what is an antibody, what's a cancer in society? Yep. Yeah, if you try to be the antibody, will people perceive it that way? Or just you are the other way around? I don't know. Yep, do too much. Get punished for that, especially if it's something a little considered to be taboo somehow. It's taboo. It's too taboo. You should not think that way. No. You should play safe. Play safe. Speak in general terms. Don't be so direct. Yeah. Anyway, interesting regardless. Mm. And why is analysis word written like that anyway? Bro, fuck off, fuck off. Seriously get fucked. Going deep panel plus recall, fuck off, fuck off. Just what the hell? God damn it. The amount of clickbaiting there is just unfathomable. Let me see this. I'm kinda curious.
Did you know that we can use will present habit? It's common in conversation. For example, I
Oh
usually
shit,
walk
too
after
quick, too quick,
Did you know
too
that we can
quick.
use will present habit? It's common in conversation. For example, did you know that we can use will for present habits? It's common in conversation. For example, I usually take a walk after breakfast, but if it's raining, I'll wait till later in the day. Think of people's tendencies. We can describe them using will. People will usually say hi to me when I'm on a walk around the neighborhood. In this sense, we use will with action verbs. We describe things that happen with some frequency. What's your neighborhood like? Tell me. Create an example with will. Similarly, we can use the negative won't for some form of unwillingness or lack of cooperation in the present. We all have computer problems from time to time, right? Sometimes a file won't open or my login won't work. When my computer acts funny, I'll often restart it, and that usually fixes the problem. What do you do when you have tech issues? Tell me and use will.
Maybe. Not super necessary, but yeah. Situational. Yeah, okay. Refresh quickly again. Quick. On those two videos I added, I'll watch later. Not now. Much later. Yeah, didn't change. Yeah, that's all.